Is this still on? Mr. Sinks, thanks for your comment. Thanks for being on the call. We didn't know who was on the call the other night, so thanks for letting us know, Mr. Sinks. We did produce a map showing where that topographic surveying was being done. Of the 51 people that were asked, I think the large majority of people gave us permission to do the surveying to get better information so we could draw the routes better for this project. I'm not, excuse me, sorry. So we had a call to better explain that. I know Hewitt Zeller sent a letter out explaining. There was a lot of people in the community saying, oh, they're surveying property, they're going to take it tomorrow. And we wanted to have a call to explain that was just simply not the case. And people that are still perpetuating that rumor shouldn't be doing so. It's just incorrect, and we've said that publicly on multiple occasions. Letters are published. It's public information that's just not the case.
Mr. Long, did we, again, I apologize, did we finish Mr. Long? Kevin Long?
78 million is the projected revenue for the tollway by 2035 on the preferred route. So that somebody was asking about that earlier. Yeah, you stated that we'll only take somebody's land if we have to. We really don't want to take people's land. We want to negotiate. I think by the sentiment in this room, you can see that you will have to take every property to build this road. So if you're sitting there thinking that we're not going to be taking people's property, you're wrong. You will. You'll have to take almost every single one. As far as the need for the project, I have a letter from John Crew where he was courting different city managers from Texas Turnpike Corporation. And in this letter it says, need for the project. A review of the aerial map of the Metroplex shows that there is a lack of development to the north and east of Dallas. Lake Ray Hubbard and Levon have blocked access to the area, stifling growth. Similar to the lack of growth in northwest Collin County prior to the North Dallas Tollway. That area of Dallas has not grown due to a lack of adequate transportation. So you, Mr. Morris, stood up at a meeting in Levon and said, we don't want to present a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, but according to this, the tollway is what's going to create the growth. On the March 20th meeting, according to the news, Transportation Director Michael Morris stressed that what Hunt County does not need is a toll road. Tom Shelton, Senior Program Manager, stressed that the proposed toll road was not in the current plans. Neither them, and this is March 21st, a short 6 months ago, neither them or us are even considering that any longer. That was March 21st. Meanwhile, there's email communications between Neil Barker and Tom Shelton, March 4th, an executed memorandum of understanding on what they plan to do. Yeah. On March 11th, Blackland Corridor's model results, Neil Barker to Tom Shelton. March 13th, Neil Barker to Tom Shelton. We are engaging with Stantec on an investment-grade traffic study, Stantec being a road and bridge design company. So on March 21st, both you and Tom said that there's no need for a toll road. It's not even in our plans. We aren't even considering it anymore, yet the communications and the emails tell a different story. And the reason I say that is to say that y'all are not being honest. You're not. You haven't been honest.
If you go back over the public meetings, of which we'll give you the presentations, I was very clear in each of the public meetings that the eastern connection and the western connection are still being reviewed. And in fact, if you remember the original proposal was to start at 78 and head east.
If I remember correct, the original proposal was a no-build. You said that's what we really want to do, is the no-build option.
Well, the original proposal of a toll provider was to start at 78 and head east. 78 doesn't have enough capacity to receive any additional toll facility. In fact, TxDOT and the RTC just finished funding the 78 improvement. When we studied the lake crossings of the capacity at 30, 66, 78, and 380, we said we're going to have to go west of that particular location because the constraint is really at the lake crossing.
There is no constraint. These studies, even John Crew says that we need to build the road in order to create the growth.
Well, I'm not John Crew. I can just tell you the level of service on Interstate 30 today is not acceptable. The level of service on 66 today is not acceptable. The level of service on 78 today is not acceptable. And the level of service on 380 is not acceptable.
You obviously... Jump up, jump up, jump up.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. So if the level of service is not acceptable on I-30, then why are the improvements to I-30 slated for the 2040 mobility plan, but this toll road is being rushed through as an amendment to the 2035 mobility plan?
Because...
What's the rush? You guys are starting the next plan in a couple months.
I accept your criticism of the rush. But the reason is we do not have enough money to make improvements. There isn't enough money to maintain the current system. The federal government has just bankrupted the trust fund. The hope is citizens will decide when they go to the ballot in November if they wish to support Proposition 1.
So wait until the vote. And I mean, whose fault it is that there's no tax money left? We pay our tolls, we pay our gas tax, we pay our vehicle registration fees. They go into a road fund, and then they get siphoned off to pay for other
Well, I understand
things.
that, but all those decisions are made above our pay grade. We're left with whatever money is left to give to us. And all I can tell you is we don't have the money yet.
So let us vote before you do it.
If the citizens vote, I can't tell you which way to vote, but if the citizens vote on Proposition 1 and there's revenue, that money, of course, as you know, cannot go to toll roads. That increases the chance of the projects like U.S. Interstate 30 and 380 can get additional funds.
So then why is the RTC voting on it a month before we get to vote?
The RTC may or may not be voting on October, whatever the...
When can we have another public meeting before this vote? I feel like there are a lot of issues.
We may very well have another public meeting. I'll have to take everyone's...
Thank you.
So, Mr. Long, hold on. Hold on, sir. We've been doing really well to this point. I'm gonna continue to hold us to people speak so we can all hear them, and they go to a microphone. So, Mr. Nelson, Jamie Nelson, has the floor, and Lynn Allen is next. Mr. Nelson.
I'm not Nelson.
I'm sorry?
I don't see Mr. Nelson here.
I'm Miss Jamie Nelson.
There you go.
I apologize. Ms. Nelson, you have the floor.
My comment was just basically, a lot of us have moved out there, and I have neighbors that have been there for over 10 years in Lavon. We moved to the country for a reason. We don't want main roads. We don't want to live in big cities. Been there, done that, moved away to get away from the chaos and the crime and just the breakdown of the city. We moved to the country so we can see the stars, we can hear, we can sit on our back porches or sit in our front yards with our neighbors without hearing booming music, cars speeding up and down the street, and actually have a real basic family life. That's what we want. We don't want tollways. We don't want to grow our cities. And what's sad, I would not have your job for anything, and I don't know how y'all keep your composure. When the man over there earlier broke down in tears, I've never seen so many straight faces in my life because I really couldn't sit up there without I'd already walked off the stage crying because of all the people that are so hurt.
Mr. Allen, followed by Debbie Stout. Oh, Lynn Allen, I'm sorry. What is your name, sir? I apologize.
My name is Jim Pruitt. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Rockwall, Texas. I just want to bring up something to you. I want to ask you a question first, and that is, have you done an economic impact study of what it will do to the business along I-30 in Rockwall, Texas, if you're diverting the traffic from Greenville to the President George Bush Tollway? What effect is that going to have on the cities of Rockwall, Fate, Royce City?
At this particular point, we have not done an economic impact of those.
Is that not important for us cities?
Yes, it is important, and that is done inside the environmental impact study.
But are you telling me that before the North Texas Commission approves this, we will know those figures?
First of all, it's the Regional Transportation Council, and the purpose is to put it in a plan so you can go look at those particular options.
And is it not true that only 6 of the 44 people that are on the Regional Transportation Council have any lands that connect to this project?
That is probably a good estimate. I
All
don't
right.
have it in front of me.
So the vast majority of the people that are going to decide this project have absolutely nothing to do with Collin, Rockwall, Hunt County. Is that true?
That's true, but that's not how they make their decisions.
All right. Secondly,
Hold on.
let me say this.
You have the floor. Go ahead.
25 years ago, I was in a high school, a junior high gymnasium. We were having these same conversations, the same people from COG. The only difference is we had TxDOT with us instead of a private developer. And that was in Sunnyvale, Texas, when the President George Bush Tollway was supposed to go through there. 25 years ago, we fought that highway. We stayed together as a group of citizens in Sunnyvale. That highway does not go through there. I've already raised my children. I've already moved to Rockwall. And it's because we didn't let them divide us, because TxDOT would not build a highway where a city was against it. And that's why it was important for the Rockwall City Council to pass the resolution saying, we don't want this toll road, we're never going to be for it. My question to you, Mr. Morris, is if these cities pass resolutions saying we do not want this tollway through there, are you still going to approve them coming through cities that do not want the tollway?
No.
All right.
The Regional Transportation Council will not build a transportation project in a community that doesn't want the transportation project.
All right. So this is what I want to say to you is, do not let it where Rockwall, you think Rockwall is going to say, we're okay with this as long as you build it up in Wiley. Or if you're up in Wiley, we're okay as long as you build it down in Rockwall. We have to stay together on this or it will come. So the last thing I want to say is, please tell your city councils to pass these resolutions, because if you don't do it, these guys aren't going to listen.
Miss Glaze, I think you have the floor. Are you Miss Glaze?
No, my name's Nancy Hanson, and I'd like to speak now because I have 2 people in wheelchairs I need to go home and take care of.
Go ahead. Miss Hanson, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone with a brain knows that survey questions are formatted to get the desired results. Mr. Morris, you invited publics to participate. In your recent executive meeting posted online, you stated you wanted to know why the public comment turnouts were so much larger than the first 4 you held. I would like to answer that for you now. Your public involvement manager notified 10,000 plus persons in the affected region where there are 48,000 residents. That's only 20% of the residents. And she did this by way of Twitter, Facebook, emails, and notices in restaurants. You would have been better served notifying the residents at grocery stores, livestock feed stores, and convenience stores, or by every door direct mail, which is how I was notified. And it wasn't by you. You have changed the name of this project 3 times, and one of your surveys was given to high school students. They are not property owners. The only people who like the idea are the Walton International investors. They are wealthy, and I don't think they even live in the neighborhood. Measuring the significance of public good is an oxymoron when 1,000 Walton investors only have 26 Anglo names on the investor list, all others being Asian, Middle Eastern, Indian, suggesting the profits are leaving the USA. To date, how many comment forms are in opposition to the Blackland Toll Road? How many comment forms are for the Cotton Belt Blackland Northeast Gateway Toll Road, or what you're calling it next week? You said by meeting 3 and 4 you had a consensus. Do you have a count that made up that consensus? It will be important to report performance measures and benefits and impacts of options by community. I haven't heard any of those comments from you, and that's your direct quote. Will you be reporting online how many people signed into the interactive video and their position for or against this toll road? NCTCOG wants to build a connector from 380 to I-30 running to north and south, similar to US 75. By NCTCOG's own study, they have shown I-30 has bottlenecks as it runs through Rockwall. Numerous people have told you this tonight. You need to widen I-30. Take a picture of what happened on 635 and copy it. By NCTCOG's own survey, your traffic congestion graphic, colored light pink, indicates traffic density is not expected until 2035. You are creating the congestion by developing the toll road. If you agree with not building a toll road, give them a thumbs down and tell them what you think. Here's your photo op cameras. Thumbs down. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have your name, sir? I know. I'm trying to figure out if that's.
Hello. My name is Lauren Megacy. I'm the mayor of Fate. And on September 29th, I have a council meeting. I will have a resolution that goes on to our city agenda that we will be against this toll road. I'm trying to build a city. An I-30 corridor is very crucial to the city of Fate. That is what's going to take the tax burden off of our citizens, because we need residential or commercial development coming down the I-30 corridor. And if you're moving that toll road in here, we're going to lose all that. So I will have something on my September 29th council meeting to be opposed of this corridor going in.
Thank you. Dixon Glaze. Well, I got to finish. Are you on this list, ma'am?
You called my name, but everybody else interrupted, so thank you.
I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to say I am from Saxe. I live on Eastview Drive, which is right on one of your terminal ending into George Bush, which would highly affect my wonderful neighborhood. We are in a rural setting. We are one of the last areas that have acreage. I don't know what is wrong with this. That can be attained. So for us to move is impossible. And I want to thank, I've seen several of my neighbors here, and I'm really, really proud that you guys came out. I have not heard Rowlett mentioned tonight, so I think I heard on their city website that they were still considering to either support or oppose. So if you live in Rowlett, I would certainly contact your council members. But I have some questions that I don't think have really been addressed so far, and would like to address those to Mr. Barker. Mr. Barker, your company, Texas Turnpike Corporation, was formed in 1991, I believe.
Yes.
How many roads have you built?
Texas Turnpike Corporation has not built any roads. This
You've
is
built
the first
zero
project that we're
roads.
working on. That's right.
Okay, I understand. However, in 2000, the Texas Turnpike Corporation proposed to build a toll tunnel under Mockingbird Lane. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's awesome. So you had 63 investors that were going to put up $5 million. Is that correct?
I'm afraid I can't quote the number. I don't know. There were investors in that project, yes.
Okay, well that is public. You can find it on the internet, the information from that.
Sure.
From that, so how much are your investors putting up for this toll road?
That's not public information at this time.
It's not. Would it be the $10 million that you raised for equity in the Cotton Belt Partners that was formed in May 2014?
There is legal paperwork for a $10 million raise, but that money has not been fully raised. No.
I see. So let's go back to the toll tunnel under Mockingbird Lane. So the investors that put up $5 million, they were going to get an awesome return. The upfront payment for that $5 million was going to be an upfront $18 million. That's over 300% profit upfront, whether or not that toll road failed. I don't know about you, but I'm in. I mean, it's not going to fail the first year. You know, it's hopefully not, but anyways. And then, get this. For 40 years after that, those investors were going to get $6 million. For 40 years, that's $240. $240 million plus the 18 up front. That's a pretty good reason to want to build this toll road, don't you think, Mr. Barker?
I think I know the point you're trying to make, and I think it's a really great point. I would like to respond to it appropriately. But I mean, you're quoting some numbers from 10 years ago about some public information. I'm not. If you're asking me, do we believe that a toll road such as this one is extremely risky? Look at tonight.
No,
it's
I'm not
extremely
asking
risky.
you that. I'm asking you what at least is the upfront payout that you're telling those investors.
Oh, you don't want to know what I get.
Okay, so let me go on. But if you could note my question, because I actually emailed these same questions into the commission's webpage, and I never got an answer. So the other question I have is, I would like a list of all of your investors in this project. I would like a list of all the landowners on any of the proposed routes that will take place. Thank you.
Yep. If I could respond to that, and I know we're a long way from here, and there's been a lot of comments and concerns, which are obviously extremely important. To that point, though, the point I was trying to make, and I know you don't trust me, is that we're working hard on that. By November, when we will have another public meeting that we will invite you to, believe it or not, we will come here just as we are right now, and we'll have better maps showing the routes, how they interact with the natural environment, which includes homes, residences, businesses, and we'll have every single person along all the routes will be notified. I see you shaking your heads. You haven't. Mr. Sinks, 51 people does not constitute everyone along all the routes, as Ms. Stout is asking for. And I'm just letting her know that although you believe something different, I'm telling you that we will do that by November. And so let's hold each other accountable. Let's look at facts and truth. Facts and truth. When I tell you I'm going to do something by November, I'll do it.
Dixon Glaze, you have the floor.
Whoops. Before he comes up, let me say one thing, and I want all of y'all to listen to me. I want everybody up there to answer this question. Correct me if I'm wrong. When I woke up this morning, I believe I was in America. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't live in communist Russia. I don't live in communist China or any other country that takes advantage of their people. I live in America. How is it that a private entity can come in and change a life that people have worked so hard to get? How can you come in and say to somebody, if you don't accept our proposal, we'll take your property anyway, and you get nothing? How is private entity being freedom in America? Explain that to me. Can you tell me that?
All of the rules that apply to a public sector entity like an NTTA or a TxDOT, if they were purchasing your property, all those rules apply to any private sector.
They aren't purchasing it. You are.
No?
You are a private entity.
No, first of all, I'm not. But the legislature has given them the authority.
Well, whatever this company is, they claim to be private, and it's a private toll road. Is that not correct?
The legislature has given this company the ability to build toll roads, and they've given them the ability to purchase property. No, under state law, they have that authority. We don't.
You know what? You all have backpedaled. You have gone all around questions. You have said, put it in a piece of paper and we'll get back to you. I put it in a piece of paper the last time, and all I got back was, we have these questions and answers, but they weren't anything of what I said. So if you believe they're going to respond to you, don't. They're just going to come up with some facts and answers to it.
Could we have your name so I can get your questions and then answer your questions? I don't have your name, I don't believe.
My name is Connie Ritchie, okay?
Thank you.
I live in Lavon, Texas. And this toll road might take out my backyard. So, and I own a business in Lavon that I could also possibly lose. So if I do that, you have taken everything I own away. And if you tell me that you're going to give me enough money for me to start over again in both my business and my home, or either or, then I will sell you some oceanfront property in my backyard.
Has Dixon Glaze had an opportunity to speak yet? Dixon Glaze, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Eminent domain, for me, are dirty words. It's taking land by force. If your study is to find the weakest community, you have maybe made a mistake. This is the third time for us and our neighbors that some person in some office looking at an aerial photograph has said, "What a pretty place. I think I'll take it." This is the second time I have struggled with NetCog. Remember me? When a farm or a wildlife area is referred to as undeveloped land in a study, it betrays the attitude of NetCog to promote urban sprawl. This undeveloped land is a fully functioning farm. We have the Trans-Texas Corridor turned into the Collin County Loop and other names under NetCog. You have bonded us together already. We already know you. I have been on your mailing list for many years, and tonight is the first time I have seen some of these maps done by aerial photography. I'll give you a free environmental study right now with field work, because you're talking to a community where we have been involved in nature studies, and I'm telling you that our little zip code that goes up through the Camp Creek area has one of the top long-standing bluebird populations in the state of Texas. This is just an indicator species. The eastern bluebird just indicates what's out there. You can count creeks till the cows come home, but you can't do an environmental study in a drought. And I'm here to tell you, we don't want Frisco here. Sir, with all respect, believe me, I do respect y'all. But if this were parliamentary procedure, I think that you should just table this whole motion. But I'll give you the little free environmental study, because we don't want Frisco, but we don't want as many coyotes as we have either. And we have as many coyotes as we do because we don't have our wolves anymore. And the next predator up is mountain lions, which we have. Yes, I have seen them, and it has even been in the Rockwall newspaper. We have mountain lion population that cruises the creeks. All this Blacklands study area of y'all's is rippled with riparian habitat. I do have a zoology degree from UT. Back when they still had zoology degrees, because they were so hard to get, they dropped it. I'm just saying, we need our mountain lions and we need our creeks, and we don't need some tollway to make this wall that they can't get around, because they have a very big territory. And if you take away our mountain lions, we're going to send all those coyotes to Frisco and every place that maybe wanted a toll road. So, I don't want a toll road. Thank you very much.
Senator-elect Bob Hall is here. So, Senator, first of all, thank you for your public service, and we turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. And I think it's been pretty obvious in what's said here tonight that what we're hearing is the same thing I've heard for the last 9 months, that people don't want toll roads. That's for sure. But that having been said, the other thing is there's never a right way to do the wrong thing. And what we're talking about here, eminent domain, is bad enough in the hands of the government. Ever taking someone's property for any reason. But we do recognize that it does have to be done under certain circumstances by the government for the people. But eminent domain in the hands of private companies should not be allowed. And I think the people should know that what was said, that happened because of a sweetheart deal that took place in a previous legislature in which certain companies were given the eminent domain authority by our legislatures under some of the current leadership in there, particularly in the House, that helped this go through. And I'd like to ask you, sir, that you would post on the website for people to know, because the question about what the people can do about situations like this is at the ballot box. And I think they deserve to know who the legislatures are that voted to give the eminent domain to a private company. And I'd like to ask you to post that on your website. And I just close by saying that what the legislature gives, the legislature can take away with the right people. And hopefully we're going to have the right people in there come January. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I have about 6 to go, and maybe there's others that wish to speak, and we'll turn it over to the microphones. Kevin Long, have we got Mr. Long's remarks? Jamie Nelson, followed by Lynn Allen. I apologize. Did we get Jamie? Lynn Allen, followed by Patrick Bricker. Lynn Allen here. Mr. Bricker. Can you turn on the microphone that's right in front of me, please?
Mr. Morris?
Yes, sir.
My name's not up there, but it's kind of getting kind of late for me, and I have 4 kids that I need to get to.
Go ahead, sir.
So I just want to say that I live in Lavon, and I live in the Grand Heritage subdivision off of 205 and 78. And it just, I'm against this toll road because I've lived there for 5 years. I figured that I would be living there for quite a while. And growing up my 4 kids, ages 8 to a newborn who was just born last month. And tonight, I'm going to probably have to go and hold him while I'm feeding him and let him know that we might not be living there for long, like I had planned. Because regardless of what people have said here, I'm pretty sure y'all going to pass it through. And, you know, this whole eminent domain that I have heard, you know, you can make me a proposal or whatever, and you're going to say, okay, we'll give you whatever your house is valued. I've done a little bit of research, and my house is valued at $160,000. And D.R. Horton is planning to build some other houses, maybe somewhere else, and they're starting values that are $200,000. And so I'm already at a $40,000 loss that I'm probably going to have to get a loan somewhere else and pay higher interest rate on that just to cover the remaining balance to build a new home. So, I mean, y'all can tell me that you're going to make all these offers, give us this money to help us relocate, but you ain't. All you're going to give us is whatever the value is of the house right now, and not even give us the amount that we need for later on to relocate after y'all done pass this toll road. So I just wanted to tell y'all that I'm pretty sure y'all going to pass it through, but I'm going to have to let my kids know that we're going to have to relocate and probably struggle even twice as much just to make ends meet in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bricker, followed by Martha Pasenka. Mr. Bricker.
Mr. Morris, thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Patrick Bricker, and I'm the CEO of eQuest Therapeutic Horsemanship in Wiley. Mr. Morris, eQuest is a nonprofit that helps people with disabilities, and we use horses to do this. We've been around for 32 years, and we're considered the leader in our field. And I have literally seen children take their first steps and speak their first words as a result of the therapies that we provide with a horse. When you talk about environmental impact, Series D has currently 3 routes, all of them going through 238 acres that we purchased to establish our world headquarters in Rowlett. One of them going through our property in Wiley as well. What this would effectively do is put eQuest out of business. Now, what would happen if you put eQuest out of business? We have helped thousands and thousands of people with physical and mental disabilities. We have had children come in and stay with us for decades because of the services that we provide. For the last 2 years, we've been helping veterans with PTSD and other physical ailments to return and get back into the community where they can contribute again. What we plan to do with this 238 acres, which we raised $5 million, which is not an easy feat for a nonprofit of our size. Oh, in 45 days. Because we had no choice. This was the only land that was available to us in Dallas County. This is the only land suitable for us. Believe me, we continue to look now for other opportunities. They don't exist. Our clients come out here to the country, like all of you who enjoy this lifestyle, because they come to heal. We represent an entire industry. We've sent out hundreds of people that are instructors that we've taught in Wiley to do what we do to 54 different countries. So when you're talking about displacing, and right now from the air it looks pretty nice because it's a vacant pasture, 238 acres. And we understand why it was chosen. But we've educated. Neil was kind enough to come out with his team and look and see what we did. And Neil, I hope what you saw were the people that we were helping and the lives that we were changing, and not an easement that was going across our property. So Mr. Morris, I ask you, please, we don't want this on our property like all of you. The lives that you're going to be affecting rank in the thousands. We have 400 volunteers a week. We have thousands of people that we help each year. Their families are impacted. We impact lives. Lives that have been pushed to the side because they're people with disabilities, people who have not been given a second thought. And what's going to happen now if this toll road comes through? Once again, they're going to be pushed aside. We can't let that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Martha Pasenka, Kathy Kirkpatrick. Martha's still here? Yes.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Holland. I'm from Cattle Mills, and I'm, like the rest of you, really tired. It's been a long evening. It's been a long haul for a lot of us. We've been through this process a long ways. So my quick couple of questions, Mr. Morris. Must you give the RTC what you've heard today, a public approval? If you do not have public approval, can they vote yes to move forward? Or do you have to have a yes for this to move forward?
For this project to move forward, the Regional Transportation Council at some point would have to decide if it wished to put it into the Regional Transportation Plan. If the Regional Transportation Council does not place it in the transportation plan now or at some point in the future, the toll road project could not be built.
So public approval must be met, correct?
The Regional Transportation Council would have to approve a project for this project to be built. The project would still have to go through an environmental process. It could fail in an environmental process, but
Because the public did not approve. So here's my
I think I answered her question.
So let me
Of course it matters.
Okay.
Well, why would I spend a year and a half of my life to get public opinion on this particular project if I didn't think it mattered?
All right.
Of
Okay,
course it matters.
Hold on. We've been. It's a long night. Trust me. I've got a farm to go home and take care of. So let me. I've. Amen. Is that right? So with my petition that I issued back a year ago of over 300 people, Chris did an awesome job getting 1,600 people on this petition. You had a turnout of last week. I think we approximated between 600 and 800. This week is about 1,500 people. We are coming to you, and no one here is giving you approval. I don't think you can take away any of this information and tell RTC that, yes, we have approval. So we don't want any more meetings. We don't want to hear any more about your studies. We don't want to hear any more about from TTC or anybody else. We are not giving you our approval. You cannot convey that message to them. So we're the public. We are not giving approval. End of story. Because I don't know what else you can take away. We don't need any more meetings. We're good. We're good. This is our word. These people have put a lot of time into doing their research and a lot of time taken away from their family, and tonight has been, 4 or 5 hours. You've heard, there's more people I'm sure who want to get up. Same story. No, we don't want this. We're done with meetings. This is your public. Take our petition, take our messages, No. No.
So, I have three other speakers. I have to take these three speakers, and then we'll open it up for anyone else that wishes to give comment. Martha Persenka, then Kathy Kirkpatrick, and then Cindy Wildman. Are any of those folks here? Martha Persenka. Is Martha here? Is Kathy Kirkpatrick here? Kathy, you have the floor.
Hello, I'm Kathy Kirkpatrick. I live on Highway 36 in Cattle Mills. I want to tell you how I found out about the toll road. I was one that got the letter that they wanted to come onto my property, and I was in total shock. So we went to Lavon, and there were too many people. So then when I talked to Mr. Morris, and he said that we would have a conference call. So we had a conference call, and he told us that that was step 3. Step 3 was when you were supposed to get your letter that they were coming on your land.
This is the right of entry letter that you received. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And you told me that, I wasn't supposed to have gotten that letter, but I did. And I turned it down. I said, no, you can't come onto my property because I didn't know anything about this. And he said, well, have been other meetings. And he didn't know why I didn't go to other meetings. I didn't know about other meetings. I don't visit the restaurants that you put the brochures out. Those are not the 15 that I go to. We only have 2 in Cattle Mills or 3, and that's about it. But anyway, and then I don't go apparently to the stores that you put it in or whatever you put it in. Like they said, you don't put it in the feed stores, you don't put it at Tractor Supply or anywhere like that. So I didn't get the memo. But what got me was that someone could send me something from No Toll Road, and I could get a message from them, but you could not send it through the mail that you're having all these meetings. But No Toll Road got me a message that you're having a meeting tonight. So, and I want to tell you about my place. We have 25 acres, and when you fly over it, it looks pretty good too. So, but my husband has a sign business. My son has a cabinet business. We have cows. So there's a lot of things going on that land, and if you just plow right through it, we've lost a lot. I've lived there for 37 years, and I'm getting ready to retire from teaching school, and I really don't want to have to start all over again because 37 years of my life has been spent on that place, and we really, really do like it. So, and I've looked at your maps, and the 3 maps that I've seen, my place is just right there. It's either going through it or going right beside it or going down the road, and it's not going to be any good anywhere. So I just wanted to tell you that I'm totally against the toll road, and I'm glad that we got to come to have this meeting. And when I talked to you, you said that a lot of things would be determined by the meeting tonight. And you said we might not even go through with the toll road if no one wants it. So I hope that you're listening. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Nobody wants it.
The last person I have that is signed up is Cindy Wildman, and then we'll turn it over to the open microphone.
Willman?
I apologize.
Okay. I'm Cindy Willman. Thank you. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to make some comments, and I hope that you receive them in the spirit that they're intended. My husband and I live in the Twin Creek Ranch neighborhood, which is in Wiley, an unincorporated portion of Wiley located right between Pleasant Valley Road and Vinson Road, and it's pretty well situated in a couple of the paths that have been shown, and we are actually next door neighbors to Mr. Geiger, who spoke earlier this evening. We are not residents of Wiley for 30 years, like some of the people who've talked tonight. We actually are Frisco, former Frisco people. We moved to Frisco when it was a population of 3,000 and quite rural, when it was just 289 and FM 760 or something, long before it was what it is today. We moved out there with our little children and had a lovely experience before it bloomed into the destination city that it is. And our kids got to experience a great life there that was reminiscent of what my husband and I had when we were children. And so after 30 years of marriage, and we are nearing retirement, we set out to find a place where we could spend our days. And this summer we found this little paradise in this little neighborhood that is just unbelievable. And we have a creek that runs behind our property, and that owl that somebody was talking about earlier lives in one of our trees. And we see redbirds and lightning bugs and things that, you know, we want our kids and our grandkids to experience, because you can't do that anymore in this part of the city without driving out an hour into the country to, I mean, really an hour out of the Metroplex to see a lightning bug. But you can where we live. And when we were looking at different homes, we're fortunate that we could choose from a number of areas to live in. But that's not what we wanted. And we set foot on this property and we knew this is where we wanted to be. And it was a paradise. And it wasn't a big house. It's not a big house, but it's all that we needed. And it was the life that we wanted. And we knew that I work in the city. I work in downtown Dallas in a very high-stress environment, and I want to get away from that. And I wanted to come to this. This was where I was going to get away from it. And 2 weeks after we closed, we found out about this. You can imagine the surprise. I've been to 3 meetings. My name is on your list. And it wasn't from you that I've gotten any information. Ms. Wilson, with all due respect, and again, take this with the spirit that's intended, despite your 10,000 notifications to your extensive contact list, I have yet to receive anything from you. And no one that I know in Wiley, in our area, has received anything from you. Everything that I've heard from, anything about this, has come from very diligent neighbors who have, through a grassroots organization, spread the word. And it's through their efforts that this communication has gone out. And I think you owe a debt to the citizens who have really spread the word about this. I'm sorry, I know my time is up, but I do have just a few questions, and I hope that you can address these for me. It's been said several times in several of the meetings that I've attended that no decisions have been made. If no decisions have been made, why has Mr. Barker already been up here explaining the process for eminent domain? I am curious. I know that this meeting is being filmed, and so I don't know if any other members of the RTC attended tonight. I know that we kind of live in an area where I know one of our representatives is actually on the RTC, but he's not been very responsive to our neighbors as we've contacted him. And so I'm curious as to whether this meeting's film is actually going to be available, and will they be viewing it to hear these comments?
Yeah, this meeting is going out live as we speak. And
Are they watching?
It's all. I have no idea. It's also videotaped, and who's videotaping it?
Okay.
We have 3 cameras here that are videotaping it.
Okay.
It's going to go out on the web for people to continue to give us comments for the next 10 days.
Okay.
And every comment we hear is summarized and presented to the Regional Transportation Council.
Okay. And then finally, I'm not going to presume that there's nobody here who is in favor of the toll road, because I understand that it can be quite overwhelming when there's such a great majority here who are clearly opposed to it. I am opposed to it. But I do want to follow up on the question about what the true impact of public opinion will be that comes from this. And just for a moment, if let's just presume for a minute that everybody here is opposed to this, and that is the public opinion. If everybody here is saying no to this toll road, will the toll road be built?
The comments here today are very clear. I think we could take, 99.9% of the people are opposed to that. We know the count here today. We've received all the comments. We've received, 1,000 comments to date. We will record all those to the Regional Transportation Council. I've already told you we do not build projects in communities where cities don't want us to build projects.
Right, but our community has kind of abandoned us on that.
So let me finish.
Wiley,
I do not want to make a statement with 10 days to go, but I think you should assume you've all done a very good job making your position perfectly clear.
Okay,
you will also know what the staff recommendation is long time previous to the October meeting. If we go in October or not, or do we recommend to proceed or not, that'll be known to you previous to that particular date. But I cannot give you what the recommendation is with 10 days left open for the public record.
okay. So
October 2nd, I think, in our introduction. So we will pull together that particular comment, and you'll know.
We're not represented. What about those of us who are in unincorporated areas who are not represented? Who do we go to?
You're at the right place.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're now opening up to anyone who wishes to speak. We have 6 microphones. We're just going to alternate, so just come up to the microphones. And okay, I think Mr. Lamer's your microphone too. So we're going to start there, and we're going to go right around the room. And let's try to keep our comments. I understand lots of people are here, and so far everyone's opposed. So if you can get to your comment pretty quickly, I would appreciate that. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Brian Slayton, and if any of you have got to hear our junior senator, when he comes back from D.C., he often says the phrase, "Make D.C. listen." And unfortunately, I think a lot of the frustration here is because people don't think anybody's listening to them, whether it's someone for D.C. or here. And I really hope you, gentlemen and lady, I hope y'all consider what you're hearing and seeing from the people and listen. And I just want to encourage you with that. The other thing is, the gentleman is gone I wanted to speak to over there, but I would ask that you please don't refer to it as a negotiation that you'll do with the property. Because when you have the trump card of eminent domain, it's not a negotiation. If these farmers and ranchers showed up to you and forced you to buy their cattle, and they got to pull the plug anytime they wanted on what the price is going to be and when it's going to go down, it's not a negotiation. So please don't use that word. It's insulting, and we're trying to have a civil conversation about it. And the more you refer to it as negotiation, it's upsetting. You do have the trump card. Why ignore it? My last thing and question I guess I'd like to ask is, let's forget that the company has never built a toll road, so there's no track record. Let's forget that every other toll road in Texas has failed miserably. The one by Tyler, 130, and in case you don't know, people, your tax dollars are subsidizing the 18-wheelers that are now on 130 because 130 has been doing so terrible. They've opened it up to the truckers for free, and they're using your tax dollars to subsidize that. The toll road in Laredo, toll road after toll road.
Hold on, ma'am.
Hold on.
Ma'am. Ma'am. Please. Sir, can you finish up your point? And
Yes.
then we're going to go to microphone number 3.
Okay. Let's forget that those have failed. Let's forget they haven't built one to have a success story. with all of that, they still have the authority of eminent domain and will take property, and some of us feel that you're going to force it through anyway. What I fear is this company with a success story. If they can take people's land and build this road without a track record of success, what will they do across the state of Texas to private property owners with one story of look at what we've done, look at where the toll road didn't fail? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Microphone number 3, up in that corner.
My name is Durwood Clem, and I've lived in North Dallas County my entire life. And I've seen a lot of things go around here. I remember when I-30 was a toll road, and we got it paid off, and it became a public right-of-way. I remember when they pushed George Bush down our throats, and it was supposed to be just like those in Oklahoma. Well, guess what? You can go from Tulsa to Oklahoma City for less than you can go from 78 to 75 now. Prices are ridiculous. And I remember when they built LBJ Freeway, and we go, why are they building this way out here? So I get that we need an infrastructure. But since I've moved to Saxe, you've shoved a landfill down our throats, you've shoved a water treatment center down our throats, you've shoved George Bush down our throats, and now you're going to shove this down my back door. I've about had it. And you're probably going to get this one. But when you get to the next outer layer, you're going to have a real battle. I have a piece of property there that's been in my family for 8 generations. It goes back to the original Mexican land grant to the settlers of this country. When you come to take that one, you better come, because I'm not giving it up for any price. She stated the fact of $248 million for some of your investors from Mockingbird. I don't need that kind of money. I need my heritage, and there's no price I can put on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Up top, hold on. Is there anyone up top up there that wishes to speak at number 6?
I'm Dan Minge. I live in an unincorporated part of Wiley, and I came prepared to give you folks a hard time. I'm not going to give you a hard time, but I want to speak to you, Michael, and I want to speak to you, Neil. I'm retired. I've lived in this area in Wiley for 14 years. I'm 69 years old, and I've probably got another 10 or 15 or 20 years. So we're not talking about real long term. This is my retirement home, and I plan to be there for the rest of my life. Now, everybody has a price. I have a price. Everybody else here has a price. I would submit that my price, figured this out tonight, $376 million, $512,850 as my relocation cost, because at 12 minutes after 8, you, Michael, you said unequivocally and clearly, we will pay 100% of your relocation costs. $376,512,850. And I would tell you, Neil, that by the time you buy out everybody around here, your toll road is going to be so deeply in debt, you won't know where to turn. And like the man down there said, if you come across my land and you don't take it on my terms, then you're going to have to build that toll road over my dead body.
Thank you, sir. Microphone number 5. Anyone upstairs? Microphone number 5. Yes, sir.
My name is Jerry Schaefer. I'm a resident of Wiley, or just outside of Wiley. I live at 401 Fox Hollow Drive, right off of the edge of Lake Ray Hubbard. My wife and I have lived there in the house that we built 35 years ago and raised 4 children and 8 grandchildren. Now, it's pretty obvious that there's a huge trust deficit that exists between the people and the people who are representing us. And just because we have a law that allows for eminent domain by private entities to take our property for their own personal profit doesn't make it right. I think everyone in this room understands that. I think you understand it. I think if you were in our position, you'd be as upset as we are. And I applaud Senator-elect Hall, who said a while ago that the state legislature can give that right of eminent domain and they can take it away. And I'll do everything that I can, and I hope that the people that are here and those who helped us organize will see that it takes place in the state legislature. And I strongly oppose them going ahead with it. I agree that there's economic benefits to this proposed pike or turnpike. There are benefits to Texas Turnpike Corporation. There are benefits perhaps to, I heard this Walton company that's, I believe, is out of Canada. Maybe going to be building a big truck depot over at Greenville. Someone said they've already bought about 650 acres right there where you have adjusted the terminal there just by coincidence. And I hear that there are development companies like D.R. Horton who bought up literally hundreds and hundreds of acres already in anticipation that that toll pike is going to be built, and they can convince people to come out of Dallas to get out there and live next to it, and they can still get to Dallas to work without having to go down the roads that exist. And it's possible that we can develop all these places out east of Dallas. But it's going to be at the cost of displacing all these people you saw here tonight, most of whom have had to go home and take care of business at their homes that they love and have lived in for so long. In terms of the economic issues of it, just think about what a tollway does to you as a taxpayer. You know, if you have kids and you want to send them to a private school in your community, you have to pay the tuition of that private school. But they don't let you off the hook. They still collect your school taxes. You know, that's exactly what you'll be facing here. We'll be facing if we build this turnpike. We're still going to be paying the same gasoline taxes that we would if it hadn't been built. And we can also be paying that toll. And you've heard the amounts estimated about how much that'd be. I estimate if you live in Greenville and use it across the Metroplex every day, that's about $2,500 a year. Now, I agree that there may be currently legal authority for you to take my private property for a profit of your own. But that doesn't make it right. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court even ruled that that was okay. Now, a lot of us don't agree with that ruling, but they allowed a private corporation in Connecticut to take away the property of people like us so that this corporation could build a shopping mall. And they fought it all the way to the Supreme Court, and they lost. And then the company that was going to build this shopping mall goes belly up. The shopping mall still has not been built. But those people's lives have been turned upside down. Their houses have been dozed over. Their property's been destroyed for what they wanted it for. just so that somebody else could make a profit, just because the Supreme Court said it was okay. Well, they may have, but it wasn't right.
Thank you, sir. Very well done. Over here, microphone number 4.
Thank you. My name is Greg Sims. I live across the street from Coach Schaefer. Amo, Coach, thank you for your comments. I live down the street from Dan and down the street from Miss Mattern. This toll road is not coming on my property, period. It ain't coming on Coach's property. We're not going to have it. Another thing we're not going to have is any more of this. We have a lot of money going to the North Texas Council of Government to do these studies, to promote this, promote that. We also have that same money, well, same amount of money is going to Texas Department of Transportation. How many times are we spending money for roads that aren't getting built through agencies like North Texas Council of Government? Let's get rid of it. It's too much government. Government, like Coach said, has given an opportunity for private investors to come take other people's land. The rights given to every one of us by our Creator cannot be taken away. Stalin, Hitler, Mao, all of them have done that by disarming us, and then the next thing you know, they take our property, they take everything, they take our lives, and they take other people's lives. And y'all aren't taking it. You're not taking our lives. You're not taking these people. I applaud that gentleman that was up earlier, Vietnam veteran, telling his story, and the rest of these families telling their stories. I especially applaud the other veterans in this room and the civil service workers who are coming out here tonight for serving us. But you people up here don't serve us. You serve yourself. I want to know, and you're not going to tell me. I'm going to ask it anyway. How many of those landowners out there have contracts already years back to sell their land at your price? You're not going to tell me, are you, Ms. Deckman? Are you going to tell me? How many have already been contracted for this? And how many other developers have contracts on that land out there to develop it? How are you going to develop this without already making contracts? Never mind, put the mic down because I don't want to hear your lies. All right? So the fact is that you're going to develop and you're going to bring people here. The problem is we got a growth problem already. We got a growth of greed fueled by bringing people in that don't belong here. We got problems here to solve before we grow it anymore. And you're just here to grow it. We need to fix this illegal immigration problem because that's what you're going to build this road with. And don't tell me you're not going to hire, don't tell me you're going to hire people in the immediate community only to work on this road, because there are people here to work it, and I know you're not going to do that. You're going to contract it out to who knows who. Who cares? We don't want it, and we do care. Not going to have it.
Neil, do you want to respond or no?
There ain't nothing he's got to say to this crowd that makes any sense. Anybody
Microphone number 1.
I'm not sure what the question was, actually. I would love to answer your question, and I'm here sincerely to answer questions. It's getting late.
Can you tell
I'll really
me,
answer them, but
are there real estate investment trusts that have already contracted around these routes where you plan on putting your toll road? And how many of these landowners out there, commercial and private, have already signed agreements to sell it at fixed or inflated cost, just so you can build that out and the rest of these real estate investment trusts and other investors can profit additionally beyond just the profit you're going to make on the toll road?
Sure. So God is my witness, and all these cameras watching, I can tell you, myself, known in our corporation, our affiliate company, Hewitt Zollers, ACI, Austin Bridge and Road, I can tell you none of those entities have any contracts with any landowners anywhere in the project area today or 10 years from now or whatever your other accusations were. There's been no contact except for doing topographic surveys. And then people who have called me, I've called them back direct. People have emailed me. I've emailed them back direct. Many of them are here tonight. Many of them here are giving comments. I'm still trying to be as open and transparent as possible and meeting with people when I can to tell them truth and factual information, including your accusation that someone had property from a long time ago. It hasn't happened. And as for building the road, right now we're partnering with Austin Bridge and Road. I think they would probably put out a pretty good statement that they're not hiring illegal immigration or whatever else you're afraid of to build roads.
Microphone number 1, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Bob Wacker. I live in Rockwall, Texas. I'm a retired Texas Instruments engineer of many years. I'm proud to live here. I want to say I'm proud that you people are doing this. I have trust in you. I have faith in you that you will do the right thing. Overall, when you look at a macro level, this really doesn't make much sense. You want to move traffic about 3.5 miles to the north of Interstate 30 and build this huge, expensive tollway. Just expand I-30. There's plenty of land on either side. There's access. You already have access. That's such a simple answer to this solution to develop this northeast area. You have 380 on the north. That provides a great venue for people to come in from that direction. And there's a proposed Collin County freeway that's going to come down north and south, which is what we really need, our north-south roads. Okay? This will eliminate eminent domain. This will save you all the hassle. Let me summarize and say, please, I trust in you. We don't trust in our government. We're concerned that they don't have any accountability, that they don't listen to us. Here is your chance, and I think you said it earlier, and I believe that's the direction you want to go. Listen to the people, make a big move, and say, look, we represent the people, and we're here to balance against private and capitalist interests. And we want to represent the people and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Microphone number 2. We're going to just keep going around for those that are controlling the microphone. So, sir, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Brock Long, and I have a question for you. How many toll roads are there in Arlington?
This is late at night. One is funded, it's under construction, but none are opened yet.
How many do you have that have taken your house from you?
No toll roads have taken my house.
Okay, you live in Arlington, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you've never had to deal with the threat of a toll road taking your house?
No, I have not.
Okay. Mr. Barker, I have one thing to say to you. Our houses are our livelihood to us, and your business is your livelihood to us. When you go home tonight, thank God that there's not an ability for the private people to be able to take your private business from you.
Number 3. Microphone number 3. You have the floor.
My name is Matthew Hawkins. I'm from Cattle Mills, and I got to tell you, there is no good place to build this toll road. No matter where you put it, it will destroy people's way of life and their quality of life. Best thing you can do is not build it at all. The Regional Transportation Council has admitted before in previous meetings that there are few traffic issues east of Royce City. So why are we pushing so hard to drag this all the way to Greenville? It seems to me the needs in Hunt County have been exaggerated, and so is the cost in an apparent effort to justify this private toll road. We do not want and we do not need the toll road. I do have another question on the arterials, specifically on the proposed widening of FM 36 along Cattle Mills. Is it that you are planning on adding additional lanes, the whole length from 66 to 380?
So this is Farm to Market Road 36?
Right.
Goes from 380 down to the State Highway 66 corridor. We're looking at going from 2 lanes to a 4-lane undivided arterial.
All right. How does that work with downtown Cattle Mills? It's 2 lanes. It's got historic businesses on either side. How do you expand that without taking
we
on
would
those
have
businesses?
to would have to sit down and go through all those particular details, and I don't know if we have to create a loop to the west of Cattle Mills. The city may wish to have a one-way pair. Sometimes we get into one-way pairs. Obviously, we're just trying to document the need at this point. We don't have the money to build it or to design it, but we are we've been asked by the public to look at north-south improvements. And, obviously it hasn't been designed or engineered at this particular point. But clearly, you're right. It goes directly into Caddo Mills, and that issue would have to be resolved.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We're up on 6 up top. Anyone left up top? Okay. Coming over to 5. Anyone up at 5? No. Going down to number 4, down by the column. 4 has the floor.
Hi, my name is Kelly Grams, and I'm a resident of Rowlett, Texas. I was watching the news tonight and saw that this was happening, so forgive my appearance and my lack of preparation. I just did want to come down here immediately and let you all know that there are citizens of Rowlett that are opposed to this. I also was born and raised in Rockwall. I'd hate to see all this come through, and I just wanted to be on record to say that.
And thank you for coming out. I very much appreciate it.
I would request, though, that there be more public information, because I'm quite aggravated that I found out on the news tonight and not was able to prepare
Make sure
myself.
you came here late. Could one of the staff make sure you sign in so we can contact
I
you
did.
directly?
I have
Thank
signed
you.
every website I found.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 1.
Fellow Texans, my name is Ken Cope, and I say fellow Texans because I am not a resident in your local community. I live in Midlothian, Texas, and I found out about this operation and the activity going on from an organization called TURF in a lady named Terry Hall out of San Antonio that has been tracking and monitoring what's been going on in the toll road scene. You are not alone, and that's what I wanted to tell you, is that there may be only 6 of the 44 voting members of this committee that we're talking about. One of them is going to be, who's not in that 6, is going to be in Ellis County. And I can assure you that the members are watching all across this state. You have other Texans behind you, because this is not the first situation where eminent domain has come to rest. A lot of you know about the Dallas Cowboys. Look at the property that the new stadium sits on. It was from eminent domain taken from citizens just like you. And it was for private party and the gain of private party. So it's very encouraging to hear our new state senator standing here at this microphone and expressing that he's going to go forward with activities in the near future to try to correct the injustice that's been done to the Texas citizens of our country. I'd also like to tell you that while you were not alone, okay, what an honor it is just to be here amongst fellow Americans who act like Americans. Tonight, there's 1,500 people in this room, all of them coming to 6 different microphones with an opportunity to speak and express their discontent with a system that has been voted into place by previous legislatures. And you did it with honor, and you've done it with pride, and you have done something that the rest of this state should emulate. And it isn't, as you've been seeing other town halls out of control, where you have to have police officers. We have police officers here tonight, and not one of them was needed. And what an honor that is to tell the rest of our country, this is how it's supposed to be done. When you have a complaint, you do have a voice, and you have a place to come, and they're here to listen. And I just want to tell you, I'm proud to have this blue band, and I'm going to be down talking to my representatives and doing everything within my power and on the internet to make sure that you have other support besides just in this area. So congratulations.
Thank you,
I think you've done a great job.
Thank you, sir. Microphone number 2.
Yes, I'm Mike Slayton from Dallas County. And Mr. Morris, as well as everyone here, I would like to say to you, in Texas, we don't have a taxing revenue problem. We have a spending problem. You made the statement that we don't have enough money to do this project. That's because we're spending too much money on too many things that we don't need to do. If you don't know it, 65 to 70% of our budget goes to schools and health care. We have to have people that step up and make the tough decisions. Then you'll have enough money to let's have good roads. and maintain the roads like they're supposed to be and build the roads that we need. It's a disgrace what's happening to the people. Dallas County is very little. I live in Sunnyvale, Dallas County. I do want to point out, I got this list of the 44 members, and Mr. Morris says it's on the website. You need to contact these people. They just may hear just a report from the group here. Very likely. Mike Cantrell is the chairman of it. He only has one vote. He represents Sachse, all of Dallas County, Rowlett. You need to contact these people. And it's hard for me to feel like that people from Ellis County, Parker County, Tarrant County have the same emotional feelings that y'all have. But you can still make an influence if you'll contact these people. And there's 44 of them on the Regional Transportation Council. A part of our spending problem, and I commend Governor Perry for what, and Governor Attorney General Abbott for what they've done to fight the Obamacare that's to keep it out of this state. But it's still affecting our spending of a lot of our money. I said a while ago, 65 to 70% of our budget is going to schools and schools and health care. We've got transportation. We do have roads. We have people coming in. We've got to maintain them. But it doesn't mean it has to take your land away from you that you've had in your family for whether it was 5 years or 10 years or 100 years. And so I commend you like this gentleman did. I'm proud to say my senator-elect is Bob Hall. I'm proud also to say my state representative is Cindy Burkett. And I'm going to make sure that she understands that this eminent domain bill, which is originated in the House, is a bad bill. And you need to do the same with your representative and your state senator. And let's get some change. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Microphone number 3. Ma'am, you have the floor.
My name is Janet Chandler, and I live at 5908 Pleasant Valley Road in unincorporated Dallas County. And I am not I do not live in the Sachse city limits, but I wanted to be sure that you're aware of the special meeting that the city of Sachse had on September 2nd, 2014, where they considered a resolution of the City Council of the city of Sachse opposing route alternatives for the Northeast Gateway project. The private tollway alternative included in the North Central Texas Council of Governments Blacklands corridor feasibility study that enter into the Sachse city limits. Following discussion of the resolution, Councilman Watkins moved to approve Resolution 3606 opposing route alternatives for the Northeast Gateway project that enter into the city of Sachse city limits. This motion was seconded by Councilman Adams and was carried unanimously. And just to briefly read from this resolution, they say, whereas any route through the city of Sachse would render the existing city of Sachse comprehensive plan unattainable, and whereas the city of Sachse places great value on the family-orientated community direction established by the city of Sachse comprehensive plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the city of Sachse, Texas, Section 1, that the City Council does hereby strongly oppose route alternatives for the Northeast Gateway project, the private tollway alternative included in the North Central Texas Council of Governments Blacklands corridor feasibility study that enter into the city of Sachse city limits, that this resolution shall take effect immediately from and after its passage, and it is accordingly so resolved. This was duly resolved and adopted by the City Council of the city of Sachse, Texas, the 2nd day of September 2014.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No one up there, no one up there. Microphone number 4. 4, you have the floor over here by the column.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Melbourne. I live in Rowlett, and I was actually at home when my neighbor texted me and said that she was watching the news, and neither one of us had heard of this going on. So I want to let you all know that I actually left a little 5-week-old infant at home to make sure that I came down here because I am strongly opposed to this. We live on a very quiet street in Rowlett. 19 homes. You have to cross a little bridge to get over it. and we've got lots of wildlife, lightning bugs, similar story to the woman that was here from Wiley. We have a very small house, and it's only 1,450 square feet, and I've got 3 boys. And we did not move there because of the house. We moved there because of the location. I'm originally from Colorado, so having nature and beauty and wildlife around me is incredibly important. It's soothing. And so, and please don't discredit that. I moved from there a few years ago, so all of it, with the recent stuff in the news. But our house is full, but I'm able to kick my boys outside, and they can go play in the green belt that's right next door to us, and go down to the lake and fish and do whatever it is that they want. But with this toll road, we wouldn't be able to go outside at night and be able to hear the frogs and the bugs and everything else that we like to sit on our porch and listen to. We would hear the tollway, and we would be able to see the lights from our house, and it would ruin a lot of why we moved there, and we would probably move. I just want to let you know, if I wanted to see that, if I wanted my boys to grow up around that, we would have moved to Plano, somewhere with concrete and noise, and we already have 30, we have 66, we don't need another one. People that are commuting from Greenville, they can take 30. They don't need to take this toll road to President George Bush and have all these different tolls and then get to the DNT, and if they're working that far, they should probably find a place a little bit closer to home anyways, because that's going to be a lot of money in the commute. For me to travel to Frisco is $450 a month and back on the tollways. So I can't imagine what theirs would be. But I'm just curious. We got here late because, like I said, we were watching the news, and I don't know who all is up there on stage, and I'm just curious where you live. This table up here, where do you folks live? What, you don't have to tell me, just what city?
I live in East Dallas, Texas.
I live in Austin, Texas.
I live in Allen.
In Allen? Okay. Well, gentlemen in Austin, maybe you know a little bit more of what I'm talking about. Then it's beautiful down there, but this doesn't affect you, just your pocketbooks. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Microphone number 1.
Okay, I'm Tabitha Mansker, and I'm going to be really short because I have school tomorrow. But I just wanted to say I live in Nevada, Texas, on 1138 and 541, the corner right there. And y'all had a proposed bike route that goes through the old railroad track. And I just want to say we already have a bike route out there. And we love riding our bikes down that road in Nevada and actually down where the old railroad was. And I've lived out there for a long time, and we play over there. And I just want to say that I want it to stay that way. And thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming out. Microphone number 2.
My name is Penny Nicholson.
I'm sorry. You have the floor.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know where it was coming from.
Am I supposed to be talking or not?
Yes, you are. I made a mistake. You have the floor.
Okay. My name is Penny Nicholson. I drove down here from Houston today to be here on behalf of my 87-year-old mother, who has a farm in Collin County. I learned about this because her neighbor called and said, "Hey, Penny, I think they're trying to take away your mother's farm." We had no idea about it. I think there really is a problem with the communication. You said earlier today that this was a free market solution. Well, it's only a free market solution if the parties on each side have the freedom to say no. And the people in this room don't have the freedom to say no if you're going to go forward with your proposition. That is not the free market. And, you know, there is an inherent conflict of interest when there is a company that is profit motivated coming in and taking people's property. I mean, it's not the government who's been elected to look out for our best interests. It's a profit-oriented company who's coming in to take the land of these people who love it and care for it just so you all can make more money. And it seems like the whole premise of this process here is, well, you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Well, these are people who love their land. And it's not just a bunch of eggs. And this, what's going on here is just not right. And, yeah. And, you know, there's a part of me that feels like, well, is this just a charade? Is this just a show so that people can vent and get their feelings out and you can put in all your pretty little PowerPoints? Oh, we had public meetings. We had input from the public, and then go on down the road. And I hope it's not like that. I hope you really will consider what all of these people have come out here to say. And we heard from the mayor of Sunnyvale, and he said, no, you really can make a difference. So I hope everyone will keep fighting for what they believe in.
And thank you for coming all the way from Houston to be here. I think you came from Houston to be here?
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming.
On behalf of my mom.
I understand.
Actually, she
But
used to be the mayor of Garland.
But you came all the way from Houston, so thank you very much. Thank you. Well, you drove up today. Microphone number 1.
I'm Karen Locklear. I live in unincorporated Dallas County, just off of Vinson Road. My father, 87 years old, he is the son of German immigrants, and he has probably the hardest working man I know. He has worked all of his life, has lived on his property for 40 years, and he got his property and his land through his hard work, not from taking from others. In fact, he's pretty generous with his time and his energy and his money. He doesn't want to move. So I wanted to state that. I stayed here late because he wanted me to state his thing, that he does not want to move off his land. He wants to live his life out there. Me, I don't want to move. Might be a little bit easier for me. If I move, I wake up every morning in a pretty run-down house. I'm sure it's not to most people around here standards, but I feel blessed. I have a place to keep my horses. I have a place to keep my donkeys. I have a place to keep my goats, a place to store my hay, a shelter for my animals. I have birds. I have a fish pond. When I go down at 5 o'clock every morning and feed the horses, sometimes if I'm really lucky, I can go out and cast a few in the fish pond out back. May get a 3-4 pound bass. You can't pay me enough money. I'm 15 minutes from work. I have 9 live oaks, several red oaks, a fish pond I've dug myself, a little above ground pool, so when it's 105 outside, I can get cool. I am one blessed person. And I wish my dad misses my mom so much, but I know that if she was still here with him, that she'd be out in the front porch with her double barrel, just rocking in that chair, daring anybody to take her land. That's all I have to say.
My name's Don Haney, and I live at 109 Cottonwood, Dallas County, Precinct 2. Other side of the field from the horse place, which is cool. I have a beef with that man up there. I want a written guarantee. He guaranteed me that if I got displaced, that I wouldn't have to live up underneath a bridge. I make less than $10,000 a year. In fact, I make about $8,400. You cannot give me enough money for my trailer and for that little lot that I live in. There's other people in there that probably don't make much more than I do. I've helped raise my grandson there. I shouldn't have to tell him, we got to go somewhere else. Okay? I get $700 lousy dollars a month. I can't even rent an apartment for that. My home is paid for. Okay? Yeah, I can't buy anything else for that. There isn't anything. You said that you guarantee it. I didn't get it in writing. You also said you wanted small meetings. I want to know why. You don't want a lot of people confronting you about how wrong this is. Okay? I want more people. I want you to see me every time. I want you to hear me that this is not a good idea. Okay? Not only will I be displaced, there's other people there. There's an elderly lady there that's on Social Security. Where's she going to go? I don't think she has any family left. I think I got family, but I shouldn't have to move in with family. I already have a home. I've lived there 15 years. Okay? And for y'all to say you're not going to, y'all said that you were going to build over the lake, and then you said tonight that you weren't going to do that. So which is it?
The question was asked of me in our previous public meetings. We had a recommendation to go between the lakes. More recent options are looking at alignments further to the south that cross the lake.
Yeah, right over there towards the horse place. Okay, they bought, there's 350 acres right behind my trailer. An individual owns, well, 2 horses right behind my property. It was my understanding an elementary school got some of it, and the horse place got the rest of it. So now you're going to go right through the horse place. My grandson, who has Asperger's, has gone to that place, okay, and they helped him. I've seen what they've done. Okay, it not only greatly affects me, but it affects them and however many other people that might be poor. Okay, people have attitudes towards those that live in trailers, and we don't get as much money as the others, but at least mine's paid for. Okay, and I don't have city officials to go to. It's Dallas County, Precinct 2. Who am I supposed to go to? There aren't any more places. If you come in and put these stupid old tollways in there with no off-ramps, there's not going to be any place for us to live, to put trailers. You know, it's just senseless. And I want that guarantee from you in writing that there'll be some place that I can take that's mine, that all I have to worry about is taxes to just the county. That would be nice. But if y'all keep building these roads, there ain't going to be no county left. Or I should rephrase, unincorporated. It's kind of nice to be unincorporated. It really is. Okay, it's like these people from Nevada talking about the horses. I'd rather see horses than bikes, because when I go from my house, them bicyclers get in my way, but the horses don't. And there's no way to go around them. We need places for horses and for people, for kids to ride the horses or whatever.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 1.
My name is Reed Bateman. I live in unincorporated Wiley, kind of no man's land out there. Wiley, Rowlett, Saxe. I would like to thank everybody that showed up tonight, and it's very evident that this is not wanted by the public. Not at all. I would also like to thank the councils of Rockwall and Saxe for having the political integrity to stand up when they see something is wrong. And I am encouraging the councils of Wiley and Garland to do the same. And Ms. Morris, you were talking to a city official here lately, and he wasn't supposed to tell me this, but he did. He said all the people showed up in Lavon because they just weren't educated about this, and they were scared. And I had a big speech prepared to say what's going on here about the Walton Development Group and these guys and the defunct toll roads all over the state. But you know what? This is the most informed group of 1,500 people I've ever seen, sir. They're not uninformed, and they're telling you they are informed and they don't want this. And I'm standing here telling you I don't want it either. My wife and I have been in our house for over 25 years. It's not for sale. It's not just a house to us, it's a home. There's a difference. You can have a house anywhere, but you can't have a home. And you're not going to take mine for this project. It is not for sale. And like the gentleman upstairs said, you might as well plan to build a bridge over his dead body where you need to figure in your EA standing and your scientific studies of how you're going to build one over mine. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Microphone number 2. You have the floor, ma'am.
For me. My name is Susan Schwartz, and I am actually the founder of eQuest, which I started 35 years ago. And I am not here just to represent our thousands of riders and volunteers that live to come out to the country to ride our horses and to come to their home at eQuest. I am not just here to try and protect the wildlife and the magnificent property that my family and I just acquired so that my dream of being able to serve all the people that are on our waiting list will be able to ride and come to our program. I am also here to represent my family that has spent literally millions of dollars to make my dream come true of taking a backyard program with 2 blind riders and turn it into a world-renowned center. And my family, in 30 days, stepped up to the plate, raised the money so that we could purchase this property so that my dream could come true. And to be honest, I have not had the guts to tell them that there may be a tollway running right through this property. And all 3 routes, proposed routes, do go through this beautiful piece of property that I have dreamed of for 30-something years. And the secret is out because today we received a letter from your company, sir, that you needed permission to come onto my property, our property, eQuest property, to do a survey. And according to the letter, I have the option to sign it or not. My family, who also received the letter, my 86-year-old mother and other family members had no clue what this letter was about. They called me, "Who wants to survey the land? What's it for?" Had eQuest have not received a random flyer from some activist, we still probably wouldn't have known that this was all going on. So my question to you is, does it make a difference if I sign that survey, even though I don't want that tollway anywhere near our property? Will not signing the tollway, not signing your survey form, will it make a difference?
The letter is a request for right of entry onto your property to perform a topographic survey. If you do not sign the letter, we cannot enter your property to do the survey.
And then what happens is the question.
We would have to find other means to model the watershed that we are trying to model.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. You would have to
We
find...
are conducting...
Put the microphone this way. Speak into it this way.
We are conducting field survey to model the watersheds to determine the impact of this potential roadway on the watershed. If you do not grant us access to your property, we would have to use less accurate means to model that impact.
So would it make a difference in not having the tollway come through our property?
I can't answer that question.
I would recommend you to articulate your comments as you have here verbally in writing, and I think that would be assistive as well. If that's your voice, I would recommend that you put those in writing and submit them in writing as well.
Okay. I also just have to make one other comment because, Neil, when you and your group were at eQuest, and I am paying an attorney to represent my family and I, and the money that is going toward my attorney, I would much rather be spending with eQuest. So with all due respect, it was very insulting to me that people from your team asked my attorney to please talk me into or convince me to sell my property so that the tollway would be able, so you could use the tollway, or use my property for the tollway. And I found that very insulting. Thank you.
Microphone number 1.
Me?
Sir, go ahead.
My name is Ronald Vaughn. Did you not say that this was the 4th of September meeting?
Yeah, that meeting was...
Then why was my name not called to come up here and speak? Because I filled out a form on the 4th of September and presented it to y'all to be able to speak.
That's my...
So that is number one, the first lie he's told this afternoon. I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm not going to beat around the bush about it.
Yeah, I apologize.
At 17 years old, I joined the Navy. You shut up now. I'm speaking. I kept my mouth shut and gave you that respect. I expect the same respect from you. And I'm going to tell you a little something. At 17, I joined the Navy. I served my time in the Navy. I got out. I went to work for TI. I worked for them for 6.5 years. Then I moved to Collins Radio, and then I moved to Rockwell International. I dealt with government entities for 30 flat years. This is the first time I have ever seen anyone trample the flag right there and the flag right there for the gain of a few private citizens. This is wrong. You know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. The whole bunch of you here knows it's wrong. There's things that's right from wrong, and what y'all are doing is wrong. You know it. You knew it before you started it, and there's no need for a freeway or a tollway here. It's just so y'all can make money off the backs of the people that are working very hard here. That's all I've got to say to you. The only thing I have seen here this afternoon is a bunch of shysters and car salesmen that stepped around the question rather than answered any question. Goodbye.
Microphone number 2. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Wanda Mansker, and I live in Nevada, Texas. I've been here for the whole meeting and was trying to decide if I wanted to make a comment or not. And I've been at my property for 13 years. I have about 7 acres. I'm about, just a little over a mile maybe from the old railroad corridor that comes through Nevada. I couldn't tell you how far that really is exactly because I've lived there so long, and my GPS told me today that my driveway is 500 feet from the stop sign. The point of reference that I want to give you guys, I don't have any of you lived or grew up in a rural area at all? Any of you? Rural? Okay. Point of reference, for us, my neighbor is 2 miles away, 10 miles away, down the road by 5 miles. We know each other out here. Our families have grown together. My kids ride their bikes down these rural streets. They jog. They play ball on the acreage when the ball fields aren't open. We've been there 13 years. But really what I want to speak about are the people that aren't represented here tonight, and that's our youth. My daughter's here, and these young men are here. We have a small farm. We have Angora goats. We're beekeepers. We have a couple horses. We raise cattle for feed. My daughter's raising a couple of pigs. We're not major farmers, but we're teaching our kids something about hard work, dedication, knowing what your rights are, free market enterprise. My son started his own recycling business by riding his bike down the road, picking up cans to earn money. He is now a commercial beekeeper. He has grown and grown and grown. My daughter has her own sewing business. She started at home in our property, our home. We have that. We're in an unincorporated area. People from Wiley and Murphy, our friends, want to bring their kids out. I've got grandparents bringing their kids out to see the animals, to just sit under the pecan trees because it's peaceful. Sometimes you guys look at those maps and you see all that property and it doesn't look like anything's there. But there's a lot going on. And it's the freedom to explore. It's the freedom for my boys to go out and climb the trees or fish in the pond. I happen to have a spring-fed pond. I have kind of rolling property and trees. I think it's heaven on earth, But then I get kids that come out and they want to help fix the fence because they live in the city and they can't walk out their neighborhood. They can't walk down the street without being worried about what's going on. All the lights, all the traffic, all the noise, all the bad people hanging around. And there's bad people everywhere. I'm not saying they're not in our area, but we've got freedom to let these kids work hard, to grow, to imagine. And you take that away, where are we going to get guys like engineers and biologists and people like that if they don't have the opportunity to learn and grow? And I will tell you, the eQuest people that were here, I'm not even near their facility. I couldn't tell you exactly where they are, but I know many kids who have worked for them, helping these handicapped children. And it's just amazing, the testimonies I hear from them. They are thrilled to go to work every day to help these kids. You guys take away our rural land because to you, it looks like it's open land. That part of Collin County is growing. There's no doubt it's growing. I live there. I drive to Greenville to buy feed. I shop at the local feed store. I sell my honey at the feed store. I go to Wiley. I go to Rockwall to shop. I go to Saxe. I go to the library in Saxe. I mean, I travel all these areas. It doesn't take me more than 20 minutes to get anywhere, with the exception of Highway 78 and all the construction. That's needed to be widened for a long time. I'm saying you guys have no point of reference and you want to come out and build your toll road. We don't need another toll road. And I'll tell you how important it is. My husband drives an hour and a half every day to 635 and Luna Road for his job. Every day, one way. That's on a good traffic day. And he drives back. I don't like that. But that's what he does because he likes what he comes home to. And if you build that toll road and we have to move, there's no way you can replace that. There's no way that you can replace that. And my kids have a vested interest. They raised their animals, they mowed those yards, they mowed those fields, they planted. They've done it all. It belongs to them too. So somebody said the kids, aren't property owners. Oh yeah, their sweat is in that property. Okay, I'm just saying that I think the toll road is wrong. I think there needs some work on some of those roads out there. But I still get anywhere I need to go in 20 minutes. We don't need another toll road. My husband spends $17.50 one way on George Bush if he takes it. Okay? And that was the last time I calculated. I think they've raised some of the rates. Okay? We don't need to pay any more tolls. Thank you.
Thank you. Over in microphone number 1.
Hello, my name is James Williams from Roy City. I'm here because I got a yellow card in the mail. Someone's coming to take my house and build a toll road to go what takes me, 20 minutes to get from, maybe 30 minutes to get from Garland to Greenville anyway. I moved from Mesquite. I worked for a communications company in the area. I'm not going to mention its name, but I've worked in a lot of the neighborhoods, the unincorporated ones especially, Rowlett, Saxe, Wiley, Murphy, Plano, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you're at. And I love the little piece of land that we have. We have my in-laws living 4 doors down so that when they get older we can take care of them. They have land there too that's going to be in the family, hopefully. It's still there. I've been to these people's houses and I've had to work in the right-of-way easement. I've had shotguns pulled on me and dogs sicked on me just for burying the line in the easement. I can't imagine what's going to come when you show up with bulldozers and say, get out. I'm really scared that if you push these people too far, they're going to push back. We don't need another Bundy Ranch. You say you're from Texas. This isn't how we treat Texans. That's how Washington treats Texans. This can't be the only way to make money, to take from others. And I'll admit it, if this tollway comes, I'll probably lose my job. I'd rather lose my job than someone else lose their home. Every man has his price. I hope I never find mine. And I pray to God you don't find it for me. We need to figure this out because I don't think there's any trust. All I keep hearing about is put it on the website. Well, last time we were told about a website that's going to solve all our problems, we all saw how that worked out. I can't imagine if the information that they said was on your studies was grossly overinflated is true, because that can't seem legal if you're basing it off that. And if it's true that it's wrong, there seems to be a legal aspect in that would give me the fear to not proceed. I don't want to see any of y'all go to jail. I'm not happy with your decisions. I got real angry at y'all just looking up here, seeing y'all, seeing the blank expressions, the passing it on attitude, the horse farm that's helping thousands of kids. You can't put a price on that. You can't change a life like that. You can't replace someone who's never been able to talk or take their first steps. What price is there on that? I sent my family home. I have a 3-year-old girl. It's the first night I've never tucked her in. Mommy said, Daddy's trying to make sure they don't take our house or take it away from the other good people. I'm hoping that that's true. And I pray to Jesus that you'll find it in your hearts that it's not worth this. It's not worth these people's lives, because if you push them to the limit, they might push back, and there's no amount of money that's worth that. And may God keep that day from happening, and you can help keep that day from happening. Thank you.
Right here on microphone number 2. Sir, you have the floor.
My name is Bob Alexander. I live in Nevada. My land is the very southeast corner of Nevada. I think we've owned that property for 32 years. I've raised 5 kids in that home. My daddy died there, my father-in-law died there, and my wife died there last year from cancer. There's a lot of a lot of nostalgia in that home and on that land. And I just wanted it to go on record that I'm prepared to die for my land. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. No. Microphone number 1. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Amaral. I'm from Royce City, Texas. It doesn't appear that there were too many people that have showed up to represent Royce City, and I can understand why, because this is the first time I've seen it. I just received this mailer, thank God. I'm not sure I gotta thank whoever sent this to our neighborhood, because if I hadn't have received this, I wouldn't have known that this has been going on for the last, 18 months or so, at least. But this is pretty sad. Just to kind of give you a little story about myself. I originally came from California. Yeah, sorry. Okay, but I was always, even though I lived in California, I lived in the more rural area, San Joaquin County, where you get all your farm crops, most of your farm crops. But I'm in the mortgage industry, and I lost my job, and I said, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I want to go somewhere where I can have a horse again, where I can have a country life, and where I can afford a house. I'm single. I'm still single to this day. And I flew out here 15 years ago, interviewed, got hired on the spot, flew back home, grabbed my stuff, and headed back to Dallas. Actually, I went out to Royce City because I love the rural area. I have my little black horse on a 2-acre lot. I'm about a hop, skip, and a jump north of I-30 over in the classic homes over by Red Line Raceway. But that is my second home. My first home is just south of I-30. They're about a mile apart from each other. Didn't travel very far because I love Royce City. That is now my rental, and it just made it barely below the little dotted line. But it does not appear that neither of my homes are going to be directly bulldozed down, but they are both going to be directly affected because I'm not going to get bought out. Not that I want to, I strongly oppose this tollway being built anywhere, okay? But, people who are on the outskirts suffer too. Now I have 2 homes that aren't going to be worth anything once this toll road goes in. So my dream of being single, wanting to afford a nice home, which I finally got, is destroyed. So now I'm like, okay. I mean, I commuted from Royce City to Irving every day, okay, over by the DFW airport. I had to change my hours 6 to 3 just to make my commute one way an hour. But you know what? It is so worth it when I get home because I love my home and I don't want it taken away from me. And even when if it doesn't get taken away from me, I don't want to hear traffic noise. I don't want my house being devalued and all of our neighbors' houses being devalued. So please, I'm just representing Royce City today. I wasn't even thinking about saying anything tonight because I'm a horrible speaker, but I just feel like I had to. So I've cried so many times tonight already.
Thank you for your comments. You're a very good public speaker. Microphone number 2, sir.
My name is Michael Bill. I'm from Nevada. I used to live in Sulphur Springs. I drove 190 miles every day to work from Sulphur Springs. I know how Interstate 30 gets. It's backed up all the time. I worked at Love Field. I know a lot of people that work at Love Field that live in the Sulphur Springs area, Greenville. Those guys are going to drive it every day. They're not going to be on your toll road. I guarantee you. I never would have used it. So it's not going to benefit those people. We're country people. If 30 gets backed up, we go through Quinlan. Come right past where I live now. I've gone down the road that I live on to get back home because 30 was backed up. I would, if the toll road would have been there, I still wouldn't have used it. So I think it's a losing proposition for y'all to consider putting a toll road in. I'm not sure. You may have truckers running on it, but eventually they're going to hit 30. They're going to hit any way they can hit to avoid having to pay toll. And I think you need to consider that. And there's hardly anybody left, but if anybody that they have requested you send them information, please make sure that these people have all the information that you can give them, because that's how they're going to make their evaluation. The impact in the area, if there's no toll road, our roads are going to improve. They've got to. I know I moved to Nevada 9 years ago, and going down the road that I live on, there's 4 or 5 times as much traffic because people are trying to get off 30, they're trying to get off 380. So the impact is going to be on our roads, but it's going to be improvements to our roads and not a brand new road that rips the community apart. So, but just make sure that the documents are sent in so that they can put them on the site and everyone will be aware of what's going on. Thank you.
Well said, sir. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You have the floor.
Sorry, it's me
No,
again.
can we lower that for her a little? Okay.
I'll just hold it now. I got it. Just wanted to reiterate what the lady from Rice City said. If you're not directly in the path, but your property value goes down to 50% of what it was, I just have a question for Neil Barker. Are you planning to compensate any of the homeowners whom you don't force out of their homes?
Per the environmental study, it will have to take into account, it's late, I know it's called like consequential or indirect damages. All that's taken into account during the same process.
But if my property
so the answer,
value
to make
decreases,
sure I'm clear, the answer is yes.
So you will be paying people for their decreased property values?
I'm telling you that part of the process will be, if a route is chosen, if a route can be chosen.
I think, Neil, the question is, yes, you can, in your environmental study, take things into consideration. But I think her question is specifically, if they are not on the right-of-way,
but right
and
next
they're
door.
next to it, they are not compensated. You'll have to do an evaluation of noise walls or so on and so forth. But the compensation is directly related to the right-of-way take. It's not related to the proximity next to it. It may affect your choice of route, but it doesn't result in compensation.
So I guess that's one of the frequent or non-frequently asked questions that needs to be one. And so I'm glad you put it on record. We need to find that out.
And speaking
we're
of,
still trying to figure out how to get a route selected, but that's a great question.
Speaking of your frequently asked questions,
Right.
I saw from the last meeting there was a comment submitted about where you were in your environmental process, and I saw on your frequently asked questions page that said it was answering that question. It just described the environmental process. So I'm a little concerned that our comments are going to get funneled into these frequently asked questions that don't really answer our questions.
No.
So where are you in your environmental process?
So the issue we have there is, I'm told I'm supposed to be direct and answer questions. We are at the route selection phase.
Okay. And are you performing just a simple environmental assessment, or will you be going forward with the environmental impact statement?
At this moment, EA versus EIS, we're performing EA, but I wouldn't call it simple.
But it is the quicker path. And I feel that with all the people who have shown up and will be impacted, plus the endangered species that might be impacted, I really feel that an environmental impact statement is what we need to have done. I really don't think that, I think you're concerned, you know, you've been asking questions about whipping cranes.
Christina,
and
right?
Christine.
Christine, thank you so much for saying that. Because I feel like I've been getting it handed to me for a few hours, and so it's really nice of you to say that I seem concerned. So, thank you. I really do appreciate it.
I was just going to say, that you have been asking questions, and clearly there is a lot more to look into in this area, so I don't know why you would be rushing through with an environmental assessment only.
Where we are now, to try to elaborate on the direct question, is preliminary routes. Then we get to what we hope to be 2, or maybe more, build alternatives and a no-build. That whole process goes through the analysis to determine whether there is a finding of no significant impact, or FONSI. And that's the process at the end of an EA. And that's where we are now. And I definitely encourage you to comment if you think otherwise.
Can you just come up to the microphone so we can all hear you?
The question was, am I suggesting whether there's no significant impact? And my answer would be, we're analyzing that now. Or we're beginning that analysis now, which involves a public involvement component.
And are you counting this particular meeting as your first environmental meeting?
We are including this as part of the public involvement process, but we are not counting it as the one requisite meeting.
We are counting it as our first. We are not only going to have one meeting.
But you are counting it as this one as the first.
Correct.
Overlapping with
This
the
will be our
last
first
public comment.
We're going to
meeting.
have several more. We're setting up several smaller meetings to get as much input as possible. So yes, this is a formal meeting where we're listening to you. We're not just ignoring you.
And my last question, well, it's not really a question because I already know the answer, but for the record and for anyone here who doesn't know that, a non-compete, I believe, was asked of the Council of Governments, and I have, I believe, Mr. Morris on record saying that you did not agree, even though one was asked of you. But the fact that one was asked of you worries me, because why would you need a non-compete if this road is going to be so profitable? And I just want to mention, the Council of Governments does not have the authority to prevent a non-compete being signed between Texas Turnpike Corporation and TxDOT. Oversight or no oversight, even if they wanted to, they cannot prevent the non-compete from being signed. Thank you.
I don't know, do you want to comment on that?
Sure, you can. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew.
I have never had anyone from the public or private sector ask us for a no-compete clause. We have never given one. We have testified on the subject probably a half a dozen times in Austin. To date, TxDOT has delegated those decisions to the Regional Transportation Council. Our Regional Transportation Council is very firm. No entity is going to get a no-compete clause, translating government has the right to build whatever transportation it wishes to build, and there will be no compensation to any private sector company for the public sector to exercise their will.
Okay.
And we have lots of toll projects in the region, I understand that. None of them have a no-compete clause in them.
You might want to watch your September 11th
I'll be
meeting
happy to.
again, because you did say that one was asked of you.
I will be happy to review that. The point remains the same. This company and no other company in the Dallas-Fort Worth region is going to get a no-compete clause from the Regional Transportation Council. Let me check upstairs. No other microphone. Oh, anyone over here on microphone number 2? Do you wish to speak again? Okay. Microphone number 1. Ma'am, you have the floor.
My name is Vanita Tuggle, and I live between Cattle Mills, Royce City, and Josephine. And my property looks like it's in one of the areas that you have marked off. I'd like to ask, has anybody dropped things out of the airplane to mark off where the toll road is going to be?
No, ma'am.
I have 10 round discs, and I brought one tonight, but it was too far back to my car to go get it. I forgot it, left it in the car. It is orange on one side, black on the other side. It is hard plastic, and there was about 10 of them dropped on my property about a week ago.
Yeah. I could guarantee you it was not related to the toll road Northeast Gateway Blacklands Turnpike or anything of the such.
I don't know
I
why.
do know of those type things being dropped to mark pipeline easements. My uncle is the territory manager for this entire region for a telecom company, and he's told me about that type of situation before where they have to mark large pipelines before a telecom, I don't know where James, right? I think he left, the telecom expert. He would be able to tell us more about that, but I can tell you for sure it has nothing to do with this toll road.
Well, it's running through the middle of my property. I mean, it's not on the end or anything else. Okay. How they've been talking about widening Highway 66 to 4 lanes. Since y'all been talking about this toll road, is TxDOT not going to widen Highway 66? That would save them some money. But they have said, I asked a guy not long ago, he says, well, once you get past Royce City, there isn't nothing. So we don't need to widen it past Royce City.
I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring your question. I'm just not the guy to answer your question. I think the COG staff would be much more suited to answer that type of question. And I don't know if any of the Rockwall elected officials are still in the room.
We have in our transportation plan the widening of 66 from 205 east towards the county line.
Yes, then we don't need a toll road. If they're going to widen Highway 66, that will take care of the traffic right now. And one thing, since we live in southeast Collin County, we are the last people that are notified of anything. I heard about the September 4th meeting through the Dallas Morning News about 2 weeks before the meeting was. And if you all been having meetings, how come the people in the county weren't notified?
You know, what's odd about that is the representatives from Collin County 15 months ago asked us to do the comprehensive transportation study. So it actually came from elected officials in Collin County.
Yeah, and I know I didn't know that David Magnus was here, and he was from Rockwall, and he's on that 44-member board.
Yes, he is.
So was he not even interested enough to even come over here to listen to the people in his own town? He's from Royce City, but he's, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor.
Yeah, Betsy Cowan. I'm a real estate agent who happens to live across from the lovely Vietnam veteran. I told him because Joan from eQuest told me, and somebody told her, and like we've all said, you know, almost none of us have gotten proper notification. By proper, I mean on my door or in my mailbox. Kramer Lane, we all knew that it would be widened at some point, but widened and 6-lane major arterial for trucks is two different things. Next point I want to make from a real estate standpoint, I know there's not a ton of you, but there's still enough to spread the word. Appraisals for eminent domain are based on previous sales, just like all appraisals are. And as of the moment that we all found out about this, we have to disclose to potential buyers that this is a possibility. And the looming unknown scares potential buyers and drops your property values. Just not knowing. I had a listing down on Castle Drive when 190 was still some guy's billboards in a field, and it was for decades because, you know, he was sure it was going to go through there. they had a couple of different routes. Well, the guy that put up the billboards to nowhere won, but the people that lived close to that property for years and years had a hard time selling their property because nobody knew whether the toll road was really going to go through there or not. Now, once it went through, the property values stabilized, and they're much better because people can make a decision, yes, I can live here, or no, I can't. But my point is this: for the next 6 months to 3 years, while this is debated, all of our properties are in limbo. Will the toll road go through there? Will the arterial go through there? I don't know, but because of that, my property values are lower, so when Mr. Eminent Domain comes knocking, I'm being compared to lower sales. Thank you very much. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't like living in limbo. I don't like the idea that part of my property can be lobbed off and me be left with something worth very little compared to what it was worth 2 weeks ago before anyone knew about this. That's a problem for me. And I don't know how you guys decide that. I don't like the idea of having to hire a lawyer. That's expensive. And I don't have a question for you. It's just, I just want people to know that already our values are lower in value because we need to disclose this.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Well, I guess my question involves the preliminary studies before you applied to TxDOT. I understand you guys already have a memorandum of understanding that you completed with them in January, but my question is related to private toll roads and Article 43 of the Texas Administrative Code. It says under the preliminary studies, prior to submitting an application to the department for the approval of a project, an applicant, which would be you according to the definition, shall conduct a feasibility study and a study of the social and environmental impact of the project. The feasibility study, it goes on, will include the proposed method for financing the planning, design, construction, maintenance, and operation of the project, and traffic data and projections. They also require you to have a social and environmental impact study, not just the more abbreviated environmental plan. And it says that all of this has to be done before you apply. And it has a number of other things. It says you have to have the route and the alignment in place. It says you have to have environmental documentation that you've tried to mitigate any problems with not just the route, but with the social and economic concerns. It goes on. And so I guess my question is, have you already applied with TxDOT for this project?
That's the question. That's the question?
Yes.
Ms. Long, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I would say I knew that question was going to come up. I don't know if you'll like it or not, but I would ask you to not confuse the issue of application. I'm saying without hesitation, we have not made formal application according to 43 TAC, Texas Administrative Code, at this time. Chapter 362 of the Transportation Code, which is what ordered TxDOT to create the administrative rules around how we could do this. We quickly went to TxDOT and said, if we're going to do this, do you agree that we are who we say we are? The law says we are what we say we are, and we have these rules that you created that we must follow. Would you affirm that? That's all that MOU, which I think do you have a copy?
Yes, I do.
That's pretty much all it says. It doesn't say that TxDOT doesn't take a side on should this happen, could it happen, how, nothing. There's rules to follow, and we're going to watch you and make sure you follow them. That's it.
So why are you spending the money for this abbreviated version of the environmental study instead of just doing a full-out environmental impact study? Because that seems to be wasteful for your corporation, unless you are going to try to use the provision that TxDOT can choose to, after reviewing your information that you submit to them, say, well, we'll give you a pass and we won't require you to do the full environmental impact study. I mean, is that the plan, is to ask for permission to bypass that portion of it from TxDOT?
There's not a plan to bypass anything. Do you know specifically what you're asking in terms of the difference between EIS or EA?
Well, I mean, it's very lengthy. I mean, I could stand here and read it, but
I'm just asking. I didn't know if there's a high level, like something you're getting at there.
Well, I mean, there is only one way. Are you planning on doing a full environmental impact study?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then
Made that
you
clear.
would be invoking the request from the state to bypass that portion of it by special permission that TxDOT and the Texas Transportation Commission would have to grant you. Is that what you intend to do?
I'm unaware of that special provision you speak of.
Well, most of them, if I could just help a little, most of them start down an EA path. And depending on what you discover from an environmental standpoint, and probably just as important, what you discover from input from the public will influence TxDOT on what requirements they will go through, or they will require, in this case, they go through with regard to their environmental studies.
Well,
so they all start off at a certain level, but you are correct. It is not uncommon. For example, in the Trinity, that became an environmental impact study.
well, I guess my question is then, if you're unaware of this, then who's giving you the direction that this is what you have to do?
TxDOT is their oversight of their environmental document.
But who told you to go ahead with just a regular environmental assessment?
We're starting at the environmental assessment phase to determine, as I was discussing over here, to determine whether a finding of no significant impact or FONSI.
And the environmental impact study also does that to a more detailed level. So my question is, who advised you to initiate an environmental assessment instead of an environmental impact study?
I think the first step is to find out if we come to a FONSI.
That's not what I asked.
Ms. Long, I would say as a private company, and you asked a minute ago, why would you spend the money? The private company is spending the money.
That's not what I asked, Mr.
No.
Barker.
No, I'm telling you that there's not an external source advising anyone like up here behind closed doors.
Well, who makes the decisions?
We've hired ACI Environmental, who's well known for doing this type of work.
So are you telling me that you don't realize that you are either required to comply with Article 43 of the Texas Administrative Code, or you're required to request a pass from TxDOT?
I was not aware that there was an issue between those two items. I can tell you that.
Well, that concerns me that that you have the power to take people's property and you don't even know what the statute says. So my question is, I guess directed toward this, maybe I should direct this toward you, Mr. Morris, because of the emails that I've seen and I've been reading through over the last couple of weeks, Mr. Shelton has been hand-coddling from the very beginning of this project. Mr. Barker and Mr. McCullough and other team members, he's been fielding the phone calls, and I'm guessing maybe COG recommended this because you've recommended a number of other measures that they may take to meet the requirements, to have local governments and municipalities in the area sign off in agreement with the project. So, Mr. Morris, are you or any of your counterparts here aware of someone advising them that they should proceed this way?
We have no bearing on what TxDOT is instructing them to do with regard to their environmental study. So TxDOT has instructed them to start with an environmental assessment, and depending on what they learn, TxDOT will decide if they have to move to a higher level or perform any...
So TxDOT is the one who told you to do that?
Their
I didn't get that from you earlier. Earlier, I got from you that you didn't know who told you to do this.
Tiffany Long, Miss Long, what I would say to you is, I mean, I know that you don't trust me, but you asked me a question. Everything I've answered today has been...
I don't trust you.
Everything has been clear, and so I don't know what else I can do to tell you the facts.
I just want the answer. Who said environmental assessment? You're telling me it was TxDOT. You're telling me you
It
don't know.
can't be us. By definition, they have to do an environmental assessment under state law, under the rules of the Texas Department of Transportation. So Texas Department of Transportation is governing 100% of their environmental work.
And so, Mr. Barker, you agree with Mr. Morris that TxDOT is the one that asked you to do an environmental assessment?
I appreciate your cross-examination, but I'm going to stick with my answer that my environmental consultant has advised me how to go through this process.
Okay, so it's not TxDOT, Mr. Morris.
It is TxDOT. TxDOT.
I disagree with you. He just told me that it's not TxDOT, that it's his environmental guy that he's contracted with. I'm getting two separate answers. You can't both be correct.
They cannot do anything in the environmental area without the approval of the Texas Department of Transportation.
But they're not asking for final
Can I finish?
approval.
When environmental studies start, it is not uncommon to start them as environmental assessments. As the environmental study proceeds, of which they have not reached any level of detail yet for the Texas Department of Transportation to respond, the Texas Department of Transportation can tell them, we now wish you to do an environmental impact study. Based on the comments you got from the public, based on the environmental impacts we're seeing, we are now moving you to an environmental impact study. That is not our office that makes that decision. It is the Texas Department of Transportation.
But he told me that that's not the department that explained to him this process. And that's why I'm asking the question, because it seems like we've got Captain Kangaroo running the circus here. Nobody knows what's supposed to be going on. You threw these guys under the bus in the initial process when you said that they got ahead of the cart by going around and starting this process. But you knew all along what the process was that had to be complied with in order to have the public hearings to the public.
My position,
so you backed it up.
my position is the same.
Yes,
I
I'm sure
think
it
they
is.
got the cart way before the horse, and you shouldn't be doing an environmental assessment until a project is placed in the transportation plan.
But you
This
allowed-
project is still not in the transportation
You were
plan.
going to present a document to the RTC before you had informed the public completely about this project, recommending this be added to the 2035 mobility plan.
And what did I do?
Well, it wasn't until the
What did-
public did something that you backed up. You did not comply with the public meeting
I
requirements.
told them if they have the approval of the public, we will put it in the transportation plan.
But that's not what the
If
law
they-
says is required. You don't have to have just the approval of the public. You have to
I
hold
s-
the hearings.
No, I don't have to hold a hearing.
Yes, you
No, I
do have
don't.
to hold a public hearing.
I don't hold hearings. I hold public meetings.
Well, you were required to do that before you add it to the 2035 mobility plan.
I went out and held a public meeting. The public made comments. My recommendation to the RTC was not to put it in the transportation plan, and the best we could do is do a study. They proceeded with an environmental assessment. To this day, this project is not in the regional transportation plan.
That's only because you've been complying with the state law. It's not because of a lack of desire on your part. Now, Mr. Barker, what is your counterpart's name? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Kevin Ramberg.
I'm sorry?
Kevin Ramberg.
Mr. Rainberg, who asked you to do the environmental study? Was it TxDOT or was it Mr. Barker?
Who asked me to do the environmental study?
Or the environmental assessment? Who told you that this was the way to proceed?
I was asked by Neil to do the environmental study. As to
But
the
Mr.
distinction,
Barker just said that you advised him that that's what he needed to do.
yes. When I said I was asked by Neil to do the environmental study, the logical first place to start in these type of reviews is an environmental assessment, and to determine whether there is a finding of no significant impact. And then if there is not a finding of no significant impact, then an elevation to an EIS.
Okay, so let me recap what I just, and somebody help me if I'm wrong. You're saying that TxDOT told them that they need to do the environmental assessment. Mr. Barker is telling me that it's Mr. Rainberg who advised him to do the environmental assessment. Mr. Rainberg is telling me that it was Mr. Barker who asked him to do the environmental assessment. Is anybody else confused with this answer? This is what has been going on all night.
I disagree.
I know, but there is a room of 1,500 people here that don't disagree with me.
They haven't given me a chance to answer.
So,
I've been listening for 3 hours, and I'm listening to you now, and I'm answering
because
your question.
you're required to.
I'm not required to answer your questions.
No, you're required to listen. If you come,
Why?
I mean, what else
Hold
are you
on.
going to do?
Why do you have any other questions that you would like to
I haven't had my question answered. I'm getting 3 separate answers. Who am I supposed to believe?
I answered it as best I can. TxDOT controls what they do. I can start tomorrow morning, which is already today. I will go find out from the Texas Department of Transportation. I will send you an answer. I'll give it to Amanda, and we'll put it on the website.
But
That's the
what
best
if
I
you're-
can do right now for you.
Okay, I understand that. You will call me tomorrow. My phone number is 972-302.
I can't promise I can call you
4549.
tomorrow. I will have an employee, either me or someone from my office, will call you tomorrow after I get an answer from the Texas Department of Transportation.
James Powell also has my email. It's homeschoolfam, F-A-M, the number 4, @yahoo.com.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. And if anyone else has any comments, if you could please come to the microphone. I gotta try to see if we can have a conclusion. Yes.
You said that based on public opinion, we could get this from an environmental assessment to an environmental impact statement. Where would we send this
You already have
public?
you already have sent it to the office that will communicate that to the Texas Department of Transportation.
Okay, so if there are other people who weren't here tonight that would like to see an environmental impact statement, then we should email you?
Yes. Well, I assume.
Or
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Some of you are saying you wish there isn't a toll road project.
Well, that would be
And
the ideal situation.
And others are wishing there would be an environmental impact study. Some have wished there to be another public meeting. Some have wished there not to be another public meeting. But you are correct. We are the office to send that to, so we can communicate that to TxDOT. And the record remains open for 10 more days.
Okay, just to clarify, the number one choice would be that there's no toll road and no more meetings.
That seems clear to me. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Yes, sir.
Just right quick,
Thank you.
the environmental impact study shouldn't be done until an assessment is done. And that's how you know that the environmental study has to be done. You have to do the assessment first. And as far as I understand, that's what you're trying to do. So you have to understand the process first. I mean, they are going through the process the way they should. There are documents that people need to send. They've shown that there are wildlife areas and things of that nature within this bounds. Those documents need to be sent in so that when he does his study, that he knows there is an impact, so that it will go to a higher process. So I'm looking at this, they are doing their job right now. I mean, I thank y'all for being here to answer questions. I know how it can be. I mean, everyone's against you. But they are trying, and I know they're going, if they have it their way, they will have a toll road. But I think it impacts too much of wildlife areas and stuff like that, but that needs to be addressed first. We need to do an assessment and then let them do an evaluation.
Is there anyone else?
Let them do the evaluation. And then,
yes, sir.
Then,
microphone number one.
So it's obvious that there's been a communication issue from day one. So is it possible, instead of people emailing you for information that you have in this process, can you just not put it on your website rather than requests coming in? So environmental studies, that sort of thing, why is that not public information that's automatically disclosed?
I don't know the mechanics of it, but if we have your email address, we can email you. Sometimes the files are too big, but we can email you where they're located or email you directly. However we can get you the information, I would love to be able to do it. Sometimes they have to be FTP files, or sometimes you have to get them from our particular website, but we can tell you where they're located. Whatever the best way we can communicate it to you, we'll be happy to do so. But I need your email address to be able to do that.
Okay. Well, there's a list that you guys have, right? So you're going to automatically then, whatever the mechanism, posting on the web or email.
I want to be careful of, we have an email right, because people come and say, you know, if you didn't fill out the form that went down the path, we may not have your email address. So I'm hoping everyone filled that out or signed in or sent us an email. If you've done any of that, we have your email address.
I just wanted to put the request on record because it's a simple thing to share the information without having it requested.
If the files are not big, we can send it directly to
I'm in the biz. I get how it works. I'm just telling you, it's easy enough to share the information without people having to email you to request the information. That's all I'm saying.
I apologize. I'm not explaining myself well. We will email everything we have to you. If the files are really big, sometimes you have to get them from our website. But other than that, we'll send them to you directly. You shouldn't have to find them from us. We can send them to you.
Fantastic. So the next thing I'm trying to wrap my head around is the process of feasibility study with environmental and why those two don't go together and why the public record is only open for 10 more days because there's going to be a vote, I'm assuming. Why is all this happening in those orders, and is that process documented somewhere where we can read that to better understand
Sure.
it?
We will send you our public involvement procedures. I'm not going to ask you to go get them from the website. We will send them to you or get them to you in the best form or fashion. You're in the planning process of how projects get placed in our plan, and that's the process we're going through. And there's dates and schedules and things in there. Typically, we're putting projects in the plan 2, 5, 7, 20 years ahead of an environmental assessment or an environmental impact study. This is very unique to be doing an environmental assessment previous to a project being placed in the plan. So
Okay.
So this is not a typical process.
Okay, so my last question is there anything in the process that prohibits you from delaying that next step, extending the public record and delaying the vote while an assessment's being made? Because it seems like, from an engineering perspective, that all that information would go into making a decision for 2034.
I think that's a very good question. Typically, we try to establish the need. We try to establish the consensus of the public. If there's a need and the public wants us to do something, then we place it in the plan. That project's put in a plan contingent on, is there money? Can you find an environmental assessment that qualifies it to be able to proceed? But what we're looking for is the need justified? What is the position of the local governments, and what is the position of the public?
So no dollars are assigned at that point then?
Well, dollars
for
have to
that.
be assigned because under federal rule, we can't put anything in the transportation plan that doesn't meet a financial constraint
Okay,
requirement.
so that still kind of baffles me on the order that things are done, because to allocate dollars, you'd have to know what the assessment is to the, what environmental impact, what other routes you'd have to take.
You
there's
are
costs
correct.
involved there.
We know orders of magnitude what the cost of the project is. You don't know until you go through the detail engineering and the environmental assessment. It could be 20% higher or 20% lower.
So it's a ballpark.
It's a ballpark. At the plan level, it's a ballpark number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't get your name earlier when you spoke.
Jonathan Holloway.
Holloway.
Yeah.
Were you related to the other Holloway that spoke by any chance?
No, I wasn't. That was surprising.
Just
right
okay.
after.
And you said you're in the biz. Can I ask?
I'm a software engineer. So I understand. I was talking about the web.
Oh, you understood that biz. Cool.
So yeah, I'm a systems engineer. And software
Okay.
engineer.
Does anyone
Thank you.
else wish to speak tonight? I'm sorry. You pointing to something? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not that short.
No, I had given up on microphone 3 a while ago. I apologize.
No,
Microphone
it's okay.
3.
I know we've all talked about the environmental stuff. I want to go back, though, to those arterials at 36 through Caddo, because I've got people that want some answers and some information. I know you said there was some things you needed to look into. I imagine the question, though, is what is the time frame on this? Do we have 10 days before that recommendation or decision is made? What do I go
Chad,
to my...
You're not, I believe you're not placing the Caddo Mills project into the transportation plan at this time. Is that right? So
Well, here's my question.
You have a year to give us input if we should be placing that project into the transportation.
But yet Mr. Crew was out there just a couple of weeks ago speaking with the superintendent and asking her about the 100 acres off of 36, which is Caddo Mills ISD property, and they intend to use it for the building of a future new high school. So I don't know if Mr. Crew's here, I want to know what exactly is the thinking, what are they wanting to do? If they're Texas Turnpike, what do they have to do with the arterials, which has to do with COG? Why are they looking into...
I have no idea why...
May I, John? May I, Michael?
Yes, sir, that would help.
Yeah. Ms. Hawkins, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
All right, thanks. I heard you mention it earlier, and I didn't know if you really wanted to get an answer or not.
Oh, absolutely, and I didn't, but
Yeah.
yes.
That meeting actually was the other way around. We didn't know anything about 100 acres for a school district. We actually went to visit Caddo Mills, much as we went to visit every single community, trying to meet with city leaders, economic development, school boards, trying out what your plans are, how can this project affect you, bad, good, everything. You know that we're out there doing that. You've seen us in the communities. And at that time, the Ms. Payne was there and said, hey, are you familiar? We're about to build a new school, 100 acres. We said, no. Can you show us? And she did. She showed us on the map and said, do you know if you're going to impact this property? And we said, we're going to try and figure out if any of our current preliminary alternatives impact that property. But we didn't know at that time. I wasn't in that meeting, but they told me everything. I was told to go find out if we're affecting that property. I have to go back out to Caddo Mills soon and try and report what we can find. But no, it wasn't the other way around. We weren't going to find out about 100 acres out of this entire corridor.
Well, no, it was also Kathy got up and spoke. She was the kindergarten teacher out there. It was also David Moore's property. There were several other people, and Ms. Payne herself lives off of 1903, so that's adjacent to it. But I also want to know, and I know...
But I think the answer, I don't think John Crew is involved in the arterial street improvement we have in our plan.
Well, I was told that it was Mr. Crew that came out and spoke with her.
No, I'm saying that may be true.
That is true. Yeah.
But I don't think, he may be speaking to them about something unrelated to our recommendation number 6, which is the improvement to Farm to Market Road. 36.
Well, actually, that's after 66, which was why it was a little puzzling to us, because 66 ends at the railroad, and this property is past the railroad on the left, from my understanding. But the other question, obviously, is, yes, how much time, you said a year, what is the thinking of wanting to widen 66? You got 3 schools, you got kids walking around, it just doesn't make sense. It's the heart of downtown Caddo. What need is there to have...
Sorry, I wasn't clear, or you didn't hear me correctly. We don't have 66 widened out in Caddo Mills. It's back...
What? I'm sorry, 36. I get everything out here as a number.
36.
FM 36, sorry, from
It's
380
from
to 66, yes. 36 goes through the middle of Caddo Mills. We have 2 lanes in our downtown area. We have antique stores on the left and our fire department and our opera house on the right. There's no room to widen anything without just completely desecrating everything out there.
Let us look into it. I believe it's in the Hunt County Thoroughfare Plan. We did the Hunt County Thoroughfare Plan probably 3 or 4 years ago. Let us review the needs that we developed for Farm to Market Road 36. We have a year to review it before we make a recommendation to put in the plan.
Okay, so a year. So I go to my people because they're wanting to go out and talk and get the word out and congregate and figure this out. So I go to them and I tell them we have a year before they're even going to make a decision one way or another.
That's correct.
Am I understanding?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay. It is 12:30. At this time, we have no one else that wishes to speak. Please remember the record is open for 10 days. I would encourage you to get word out to your neighbors. And before you leave, hold on, I wanted to say something before you leave. Please get your word out to your neighbors to make sure you give additional comments. I thank you all for coming this evening. Please go to the website. The public presentation of this will be out for others to watch and witness. But today's public meeting is the happiest I have ever been, where we reach out to the public and for the public to give us detailed, honest conversation about the future of what it is that we should be listening to. We go to 30 or 40 public meetings a year. This has been the best public meeting I've gone to in my 35 years, and congratulations to all of you for taking the time. I know you're away from families, but I think the folks that came out today will have a bearing on how we move forward in this part of the region, and thank you very much for coming out tonight. We are adjourned.